Today's episode is brought to you by Chris G Customs, custom paint, pinstriping, and hand lettering. From badass to world class, Chris G Customs. Find him on Instagram at Chris G Customs, 559-618-7309. TD Mike, how do you feel about pinstriping on just random inanimate objects like AirPods? Because Chris does it.
I think it's interesting that you would, I wouldn't go out of my way to think that AirPods is a thing, but that's cool, man. And it also shows a level of detail that you can create a design on something so small.
I'm looking at my bike right now, and I think that shit would look fire with a little bit of pinstriping. Because if he can do it on AirPods, he can do it on this bike.
Oh, for sure.
1979 Schwinn Varsity Caribbean Yellow. I'm going to have him do some stuff on that thing one day. For all your pinstriping needs, Chris G Customs. Oh, I messed up your name, Chris. My bad, dude. You're not paying for me anyway. You're not paying for my time. We're just swapping some art. Let's start the show. Welcome back to the Maximum Chillage podcast. My name is Chuy Sanchez. With me, as always,
I'm Tiki Mike.
We haven't done this in a while. Please follow us on Instagram and Twitter. I want to start doing Twitter more. I don't think our medium is so Instagram-y. I think it's a little bit more Twittery. What do you think?
If Twittery is a good adjective, I would say that it probably would fit more. But I have a hard time getting back into the rhythm of Twitter. I feel like I'm out of the game on Twitter. I feel like I don't have the bite, that I feel like everything's very sarcastic on Twitter. You were doing
really good on Twitter for a while as your alter ego, Sloppy Joe.
Yeah, Sloppy Joe was a very sad and spiteful being. I don't know, man. I don't have that bite anymore of just hey man, fuck you on this. I don't know.
You don't really want to get into it with people.
No,
please
what?
Feel free to use the Maximum Chillage Twitter to get into it with people, because I feel like that gives us traction.
Oh man, I just don't. I don't know.
Anybody you want. Battle.
Also, that's the thing.
Debate
I feel like people are better trolls than I am. I feel like my trolling level isn't there to really
you would
thrive
get mad
on Twitter.
You would get mad if somebody was trolling you?
No, I just feel like I
start to shake, dude. I can't do it.
No, I
start to get mad.
Well, is it because they're out trolling you?
Oh yeah, obviously. I don't think I'm a good
they're getting
troll.
That reaction.
I'm not a good troll, but if we get big because of trolling, so be it. So if you want to use that Maximum Chillage Twitter to do whatever you want with it, feel free. It's your. I've given TD Mike the opportunity to be social media manager before. I was like, just do it, put it on your resume, go apply for a marketing job, and he still hasn't done it. But if you want to do it, man, it's all yours. We have a really good show today. We have Rossco Soletrain. You would know him as our intro music producer. He's made the season 3 music. TKO is the name of the track. Rossco Soletrain. Well, he'll be on in a little bit. We're just going to do an interview. He's a YouTuber, hairstylist. There's so many things we can jump into with him. Coronavirus and cutting hair. Those we've been talking about it for the last 3 podcasts. Now we can actually get somebody on here who knows what the fuck they're talking about. It's not just talking out of their ass like we are. We obviously love music. We talk about music all the time. So let's get into that with Rossco. I'm really excited for this one. So without further ado, here's the interview. You know him as our producer, the producer of the Maximum Chillage podcast, season 3, intro music, Rossco Soletrain. Rossco, welcome to the show. Great to have you.
Yeah, boys, it's good to be here.
We're going to jump into some things today. We're going to talk about your YouTube channel. We're going to talk about your SoundCloud, your music that you're producing right now, especially in quarantine. We're going to get into hockey, which I'm really excited for, to finally talk about hockey on this podcast. It might bore some people, but
that's okay. I'm
stoked.
Yeah.
And then we're going to talk about Northern versus Southern California, because we're both, well, you're more Northern than I was. I was Central. Now we're both down South, and Mike is in Central California. So we're going to have a good old little Northern versus Southern California debate. But first, I want to talk about this. Actually, let me introduce your Instagram at Soletrain, so everybody can follow you there. And then Rossco Soletrain on all other platforms: YouTube, Twitter, SoundCloud, and Spotify. But you are also a hairstylist, and Mike and I have been talking for the last, I think, every episode that we've had so far, we've talked about haircuts because we're missing
Yeah.
them. How's your life going as somebody in the industry? With how's it going for you personally?
I mean, not to sugarcoat it at all. It's brutal.
Yeah.
I haven't done any work at all, since it all went down. And there's one person that I have been in contact with since the quarantine happened, and it's my creative partner and best buddy, Woody. And I cut his hair right away, like right when it first went down. It was kind of nice because I cut his hair, got a little side cash on that, and then I got a royalty check for some music that we had done. So it was like a nice little bonus, and the only money that I've really gotten since the quarantine.
Since the start.
Yeah. So, but what I've noticed is that people are really freaked out. Nobody wants to get their hair done.
So people aren't like hitting you up like, hey, can I get this on the side? Can we do this in a house or something?
Yeah. Some people have hit me up, but, I'm kind of hesitant too. So
yeah, for sure.
There's one person that I'm going to see this week. But there's going to be no money exchange because I used to work with this guy. And so I'm going to cut his hair and he's going to cut my hair. And, but other than that, like, man, it's been freaking crickets out there. It's weird. Like, I think everybody's just waiting, but we're going to have to wait a lot longer. I think probably sometime in July to go back to work, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's what I'm hearing too. Earlier it was announced that Los Angeles is going to start testing anybody who wants a test. Now they have that many tests. So that might push it forward a little bit for you to be able to start working.
Yeah.
But it's just crazy that I'm over here just really, really wanting a haircut. But at the same time, it's like, what do I need a haircut for? I'm not going to see anybody.
Right.
But it's just that personal thing that you want. It's your little luxury. So I'm just sitting here and I look crazy with my hair grown out. But I was wondering, do you like for you personally? I know you're missing the money, but like the human connection. You talk to people every single day.
Yeah.
You've got to be going crazy right now.
This is like goes completely against my nature because I'm a social butterfly. It sucks, man, because like not only do I do hair, but my whole life since I've probably been about, I don't know, 18 years old, 16 even, is I go from one thing, whether it be school or work, and I go to a band practice or I go to kicking it with my homies, or now I go to the Comedy Store as much as I can. So I'm always around people. I have no downtime. Like I've just kind of been accustomed to that, like most of my life. So there's been times where like lately, I've had some kind of rough patches, and it sucks, man, because I'm just like not used to being in my own head. And you know what? Honestly, like I feel like thankfully I have enough, mental fortitude, because there's a lot of people out there that are on the verge of a mental collapse as it is.
I mean, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And when you take away, I feel like as people, we need other people to bounce off our own crazy, because when we start going down the rabbit hole of like, whatever our inner dialogue is, if we don't have anybody to like talk to about this and go, I don't know, what do you think, man? Am I crazy here? It's like you need your friends to be like, yeah, motherfucker, you are crazy.
Yeah.
So
it somehow keeps you in check and you don't fester on one particular idea.
Yeah, man.
Like you don't focus in on like a small branch of ideas versus like you start obsessing about one specific part of your life versus like, everything in small doses without the I don't know, the colorful conversation that you would have.
Sure.
Okay.
We need springboards as people.
Yeah. And it's crazy that you say that, because I personally have always thought that my barber, my childhood, I've only had one barber in my life. Everybody else is just people who have done my hair. My barber is in Sandra, California. I 100% feel like that guy is my personal, he's like my psychologist, like he gets everything out of me. I don't go in there saying I'm going to unload on Eddie today.
Yeah.
I'm just going to like let it all out. Yeah. He just starts asking me a question here, asking me a question there. And all of a sudden I've just let my whole last month out on him, just because it's like, do you ever feel like when you're working, it kind of brings you down a little bit, or you really like that touch?
No, I love that.
Doing hair.
I love having personal connections. I was watching this. One of my clients sent me this Instagram video of this like dude dressed in drag, and he's like talking like it's like kind of like the over chatty stylist or whatever. And this stylist is like talking about being on crank and like, so what are you doing?
Oh yeah, the TikTok video.
Yeah, and like
that one is hilarious.
It's great. And what I loved about it was it's kind of like poking fun at hairstylists in general, but I saw a lot of myself in that video and that stylist. It's like in a lot of respects, I am that stylist. I love, when I get a new person sitting in my chair, I don't normally ask him what their job is. I ask them what they're into, because I find that like if Mike, if I sat you down in my chair and I said to you, hey, what do you do for work? And you're like, well, I work at Costco. Like, where does that conversation lead to? It's like,
it just leads to things that I'm trying to, I'm on my day off, probably getting a haircut. I probably don't want to think about work in general.
Exactly.
So yeah, like, I mean, probably just leads to complaining more than anything.
Right.
I would imagine.
Yeah. But if you sat down in my chair and I'd never seen you before, I took a look at your hair and I said, so what are you into? What would be your response?
Oh, I don't know, man. I'm a little different though. I probably get like kind of nervous about the question, be like, oh, I don't even know.
Because you can go deep with that shit. But what if I?
Yeah.
So then I pick that out and I say, okay, cool. This guy's he's kind of more of an introvert. Okay, so what kind of music do you normally listen to?
Oh, you see, there it goes. And then I probably would start talking about different music that I've been into at different phases.
Absolutely.
So and that would open up the conversation pretty.
And so when you talk about like, when I ask people certain questions and they kind of turtle in, either people will turtle in and go, or they'll open up. And either way, there's always another question to kind of get me to who they are at their core, or at least as good as I can. So as far as being a hairstylist goes, and that's my main part about doing, is I love to be able to kind of cater what I talk to, or what I try to cater what I do to each person. And thankfully, as being a hairstylist, like I can do everything from a bald barber fade with a lineup on a black dude to a full balayage on a white girl, so like my skill set is very it's pretty broad. So I like it because I can talk to pretty much anybody.
Oh, so I mean, you do beyond just male clientele, you also do female hairstyles too.
Yeah, I would say that the majority of my clientele, well, down in LA, it's a little bit different. The majority of my clientele in LA is like probably 70% men, 30% women. It's actually, but it's changed though, because I've worked at two different shops right now. Well, before this all went down, I was assistant managing at this salon. It's a small chain called Bishop's. And it's mostly men there, but my last job was all female. So I can pretty much do whatever I need to do.
When I came over here, you were the first person I hit up, because getting a new person to cut your hair is the most nerve-wracking thing that there is when you're in a new area.
Oh, yeah.
I've had to do it 2 times in the last few years. And luckily, when I moved to, it's still Central California, but Merced, California, I just found this really good shop after, actually, I'm lying. I went to a really bad shop. I went to a really, like they wanted to be the barbershop so bad, like the movie.
Right.
And it was just like painful.
Yeah.
And they didn't pay attention to me. I waited an hour and I was like, fuck, this is exactly why I didn't want to find a new barber. It's hard. I don't want to have to go through all these shops. But second try, I found somebody who was really good. And then as soon as I got to know him, I saw him around town, bought him some drinks. Like we hit it off. I had to find another new barber. So I was like, fuck, I really don't want to have to do this. So I hit you up, and I was supposed to get my hair done by you, but then coronavirus hit. So I hope that when this is all over, I can have you
I'll cut your hair, man.
Cut me up, and that'd be really. You even offered to come over here, which was really cool. No. And I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I got setups everywhere, so I have no problem. I never make it, because you're down in Orange County, right?
I'm in Anaheim.
Yeah, so I never make it down. I mean, I kind of refer to Anaheim as Egypt. Which is shitty to say, but I never make it down there, and I want to start making it down there more often. So,
which is something I want to talk to you about, because you used to be in Anaheim a fair amount, I feel like.
All the time.
We'll get to that. During the YouTube conversation. We'll get to that. But again, welcome to the show. We're glad to have you here. We are. I'm happy that I can ask you all the probing questions today, just instead of you having to ask your clients. We want to get to know Rossco Soletrain on another level here. So we're going to be talking about your YouTube channel, your music, all of that. But let's start. Describe yourself for somebody who has no idea who you are, just heard about you today. Describe the essence of Rossco Soletrain.
I mean, it's kind of tough because I don't want to go on and on about myself.
Feel free. I do it all the time.
Well, I mean, in a lot of respects, I feel like I'm a very flawed individual, kind of like everybody else. But just to kind of get it into my core, I would consider myself to be a very creative person. I would consider myself to be more of a team member, a musician, kind of somebody that's tried to dip their fingers into whatever they possibly can. And I make my money for the most part doing hair. So
that's exactly how I imagined it. Because you are somebody that I really looked up to on the internet, because I found you through some other YouTubers. I'm not going to name drop.
Name drop.
I found you. Go ahead.
I'm assuming you probably found me through either Adam or Justin.
Adam.
Yeah, Adam.
I found you through Adam. So I found you through Adam. You were on his channel, and I was like, this guy's really fucking cool. I'm going to add him too, because I was. That's back when I was on my YouTube thing. Mm-hmm. I was even trying to do vlogging for a second.
Yours were good, man.
I don't know. I feel like that was like the perfect age. Nothing against you, because you do YouTube, and I'm going to get into what I want to start doing. I just feel really like shame that people judge me. Mm-hmm. I have that like weird. Even with this podcast, I have this. Oh, there's two friends who do a podcast. They're a bunch of fucking losers. There's just this stigma to art, I feel like.
Shame on you for putting yourself out there.
Exactly, right? Like shame on, sorry that you're trying to do something. I want to get over it. And it's just something that I've been wanting to do for a long time.
Chuy, legit, this is almost out of character, man. Sounds like a real vulnerability being thrown out there. Like I haven't heard you talk about this like this. Well, I kind of felt like you knew it, but I don't even know if you and I have fully had a conversation about this.
Yeah, it's the reason. If you go and look at Maximum Chillage's YouTube, there is a Disneyland vlog that TT Mike and I did years and years ago that I really enjoyed. It was fun. It was really fun doing that one. But it's just something that I got to get over, and I really want to start doing it again. Thank you for saying that they were good. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, they were. I'm not fucking around, man. I was genuinely impressed.
Thank you.
Yeah, right away.
So I found you through Adam the Woo, who's over here in Orange County, and let's jump into the YouTube thing then. Why did you stop doing? I saw a tweet that just spoke to me too. You one day put a tweet out that said, I am not doing theme park videos anymore because I'm not going to do them. What happened there?
I don't like the theme park
community.
I don't like the theme park community at all.
Okay.
And I find that with any kind, and this goes across the board, and when you get into any kind of quote unquote fan community, you get into a real toxic environment. And it's very much a circle of people that are, and I'll include myself into this too, a group of people that are tryhards, a group of people that are struggling to find importance in their life. And so they latch on to some kind of community to find themselves and to be a part of something. And
they become gatekeepers and fucking assholes to anybody that tries to come in.
Yeah, either tries to come in or they try to tear people down that ascend that community. So it's very much a toxic environment. I found out right away because me and my friends, we did a video a long time ago that was called Rossco Goes to the Museum. Because we were going to do this series of like these music videos that were going to be called Rossco Goes Wherever. And the one we did it actually really is a great video because my buddy Colin shot it and edited the thing. But It's a video where it starts off at the Walt Disney Family Museum, and the way it worked out was I get possessed
in San Francisco, correct?
Yes, and then I get possessed by the spirit of Walt Disney. It takes me to to Disneyland, and then I go around and I encounter different kinds of fans of Disney stuff, and kind of it embraces. It was almost like I was trying to do something where it was like Walt Disney was kind of like telling the Walt Disney fan community that they were fucking rad. In some kind of way, whether that translated into a video or not, it's who's to say. But realistically, it kind of touched a nerve, and it really is the spark that made me really want to try to do more YouTube stuff.
So then the community turned you off to it 100%. Like you just stopped doing it. You don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, that video.
Are you referring to any channels that in particular or just in general?
No, because a lot of
without having a name drop.
Oh, honestly,
exactly.
Until we start talking about like people that are stars and celebrities, because we'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as like any of that stuff goes, I don't really have any problems name dropping anybody at all. Because as far as like the YouTube Disney people, like we'll talk about Justin Scard, Magic Journeys, Dano Flores, Adam, even the Disney Bears. I don't even know if that's their name. The Disney Bears, the guy that was in the couple that was in Adam's video today in Venice Beach.
I did not see it. No,
his name's Spencer. So all the people that I just mentioned, they're actually really cool people. Even Count Stankus. All these people are really nice people. I really like every single one of them, and had a really good time with every single one of them. So I can't really say anything bad about those people. The Disney.
Is it more their fans?
It's the fans, and it's these other fucking people. Like there was this guy who he was trying to get my video taken down, and he was trying to get me banned from the Walt Disney Family Museum because I was
what?
Because I was he said that I was filming there without a permit, which you're allowed to take video and you're allowed to take photos there. But the thing is that the reason why he was so pissed is that it looked cool and we were able to do something and photograph ourselves in that museum and made it look legit when we just used the lighting of the museum. And that was all we did. But he tried to get me kicked out. In fact, I was getting emails from the museum. And
wow.
And they were like, you can't use tripods and you can't use this and that and the other, and which I didn't. And they were like, but by the way, we love the video.
That's cool.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
So
that's really cool.
I never got banned, but this guy he's this big, miserable, fat motherfucker named Leo something. But he was always at like.
I think we've all known a Leo in our lifetime at some point.
Seriously. So yeah, those fucking fans.
That's also what scares me about YouTube is the community and the comments. Like I don't think I'd ever be able to go into the comment section and just read comments about me. Is that something that you experience? Is there like some hate comments in there?
Just find yourself eating a sleeve of Oreos to comfort yourself later.
Exactly.
Well, fuck, man. I gained a lot of weight during the course of those 3.5 years on YouTube. There was ones that would cut deep, and the ones that I found that cut the deepest were the ones that had a lot of truth to them. And those ones actually made me change my videos. And I actually kind of thinking about it, there was a couple in particular that like kind of poke out in my brain. And those ones actually were the most informative. And yeah, they really kind of changed my videos up a lot. And then there was ones like some homophobic ones and some racist ones that I always found to be very interesting. And then there was one racist one in particular that this guy was kind of attacking my channel. And
wow,
I thought, what the fuck? Like nobody knows my genetic background, like I go by an alias.
It's very ambiguous.
Yeah. Yeah. And I thought, how is anybody going to know that I'm Hispanic? And I thought, cause I look like who the fuck knows?
Yeah.
And
I've never been able to put a finger on it. Like I don't know. It's just very ambiguous.
Well, and I thought, who would know my last name other than people I went to school with? And I
Oh
thought,
man.
and then I started
Did,
reading it, these comments,
yeah.
and I was like, the wording of these comments is very similar to,
Oh, you recognized.
not only did I recognize it, but I found out who it was. And
Wow.
he was one of my quote unquote biggest supporters that then he professed his gay love to me. And I had to tell him I wasn't gay. And then everything changed from there.
Oh.
So it was very interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
That scares the shit out of me. Just comment section.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd be able to handle it. But I do have an idea for a channel that I wanted to run by you because you used to do park stuff. And I do like Disneyland YouTube, but I don't like that it's so kid oriented. A lot of the Disneylander YouTubers they keep it clean, they keep it PC.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's an audience that, especially that I want to tap into because it's something that I want to watch. I feel like that's where the best stuff comes from. You make the stuff that you wish that was already made.
Sure.
I want to do something for adults, and I don't want to make it like nasty or anything. It's hard. I don't know how I'm going to figure it out. But I want to do like a more adult oriented, maybe like Dapper Day stuff or goth Disneyland stuff. Because I am here in Anaheim. The park is just a hop, skip, and a jump away. I was about to buy my AP before this all happened.
Right.
So I've always wanted to do YouTube, and I've always wanted to do Disney YouTube. So that's my idea. I want to do something adult-oriented Disneyland. Does that sound like something that you would watch?
No, I wouldn't watch it. I'm just being honest.
I know. I appreciate that. Yeah. I appreciate that.
I wouldn't watch it. And the reason why is because if I'm going to watch a quote unquote, a more of an adult Disneyland or Disney parks vlog, I want to see people that are vandalizing. I want to see people that are breaking into things. I want to see people that are hopping off of rides. I want to see people that sneak backstage, doing drugs. Like I want
to Adam the Woo kind of stuff. Kind of
like more. I don't know if you know of
more extreme.
Like, do you know Leonard Kinsey by chance?
No, I don't.
Okay, so there's a book that's called The Dark Side of Disney, and it's kind of dated. But Kinsey outlines all kinds of shit. So there's two people, if you want to kind of like delve into that world, there's two people you need to check out. One is a guy named he goes by Ward Disley. I'll send you links to this fool. But he hates Adam, by the way. I don't know why. He's just a drunk. He's like a drunk animal. But he used to work for Disney, and he posts all kinds of shit. Hoot Gibson is his name. He goes by Hoot Gibson and Ward Disley. But anyway, Hoot Gibson and Leonard Kinsey. But the Dark Side of Disney book is pretty fascinating because it tells you how to sneak in booze. It tells you where to get stoned. It tells you where to fuck. It tells you all this crazy shit. So I feel like if you're gonna go down that hole, I mean, honestly, don't let anybody shit on your idea, including myself. You do what you want to do and find your voice. It takes time. But if I were going to watch something like that, it would have to be so balls to the walls that people are getting arrested and getting kicked out of parks. Yeah,
I'm not trying to get a band like Adam.
No.
That guy's had many bands in many parks.
Yeah.
Those are crazy. How about, so we're talking about like crazy stuff like that. Have you seen Escape from Tomorrow?
I did.
So when you were talking about the Rossco at the museum, it reminded me a lot of that movie. Did you particularly like it? I thought it was kind of campy, but it was kind of cool at the same time that they were able to get all that shit filmed in the park. That was what was cool to me. The movie itself, I could take it or leave it, but the fact that it was filmed in the park without them knowing. Do you actually know if they got in trouble for that? Because if they were sending you emails from the museum, they must have gone apeshit on them.
The Walt Disney Family Museum and Disney Corporate are completely separate entities. So the Walt Disney Family Museum, that was run by, they're both passed away since, but Ron Miller and Diane Disney. So that was the old CEO. So before Mike Eisner took over back in the 80s, it was Ron Miller that ran Disney and his wife, which was Diane, Walt's daughter. So they ran that museum. And so they kind of can do their own thing. Yeah. But Disney Corporate, they're so big, they didn't say a fucking word to the people that did Escape from Tomorrow.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they don't want to draw attention to it. You know?
Yeah, that's
I'm
true.
sure they went to a showing when it came out, just like they did with this. There was another movie that came out. I can't remember the name of it. I went to the premiere, but it was another like Dark Side of Disney type of movie. And I felt like that guy just kind of like, he didn't go as hard as he should have. So I don't know, man. I think that you just got you got to do what you want to do, and find your voice. But doing a that was one problem I always had on YouTube was nailing down a specific topic.
That was going to lead into my next question. How would you describe your channel? Because your channel is kind of a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Yeah.
What's the best way to describe your channel?
Well, what I wanted it to be was I wanted to be about places. That's what I always wanted it to be about. I didn't want the focus to be on me. I wanted the focus to be about a certain place or a certain event or a restaurant or somebody else. I always wanted it to be about that. And then what I found myself doing was getting swept into the YouTube, becoming addicted to YouTube in a lot of respects, where you feel the need to generate more content and to make sure you're feeding this beast so you can keep because you're always like focusing on the algorithm and views and subs and all this shit, which is really counterproductive to doing anything that's any good. So
for sure,
I would describe my channel as a blown opportunity.
You've since backed off of YouTube, right?
Yeah.
You've gone more into music.
I have always been a musician.
Yeah,
and I've been in I've been in bands and kind of like touring, quote unquote, touring bands since I was.
I mean, you played Coachella.
I did
with Woody, right?
I did, yeah.
How was that experience? Did you like it? Did you hate it?
You know what the best part about it was I was able to we played both weekends, but we played two different stages. So in the daytime we played one of the bigger stages. I can't remember the name of it. And then at nighttime we played this little. It was called the Turn Down Tent, and so we got a chance to do like the big thing and then like the small kind of like art tent, which honestly the art tent was amazing. But the best part about playing Coachella was when I saw the lineup for the stage that we were playing. I noticed that we were playing with Brian Ferry, and Brian Ferry was he was the lead singer and songwriter for a group called Roxy Music. You guys might be familiar with the song "Love Is the Drug."
My dad loves Roxy Music. I'm not too familiar with it, to be honest with you, but I know that my dad's really into it.
Straight up. So when I saw that, I called my dad, and I said, "Yo, you'll never guess who I'm sharing the stage with tonight." And he goes, "Who?" Because my dad never gave a fuck about my music. And I said, Brian Ferry from Roxy Music. And my dad doesn't listen to music at all. Like my dad is like a talk radio fucking dingleberry. And I've never heard my dad fanboy out harder than that moment. And so out of all of Coachella, I'll remember that phone call and the shit trucks backstage. Oh my God.
What?
They're just like trucks full of
dude, the shit
from all the porta potties being stored?
Oh my God. So this was the year we played was the year before they installed real bathrooms. So there was porta potties everywhere. Everywhere you went was porta potties. And dude, these fucking porta potties would get disgusting. Have you guys ever been to Coachella before?
I would imagine. I've never been. No, my family's from Indio, and I know it gets really hot.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I can only imagine what a porta potty is like in Indio, California.
Oh, dude. It's
hell hath no fury.
So there was because there's so many people that are just having like the whiskey and Coke shits. Dude, these porta potties are like out of control and everywhere you go. And so Woody had worked Coachella in the past. So he knew a lot of the people in the backstage areas. So what I did was it was Easter weekend. So I got candy for all of the perimeter securities. I knew that the perimeter securities people, they had an air conditioned like portable unit. So I'm like, okay, I got to get cool with the securities people because if I get cool with them, then I can hang out in the fucking air conditioning unit, right? So since it's Easter, I'm like, fuck, I'm going to bring everybody fuckloads of candy and chocolate. Like, I'm going to bring everybody chocolate. So I went and I got like $50 worth of chocolates, and I brought them in the perimeter securities tent and made friends with all the perimeter securities people. Well, they had their own separate porta potty. That was another reason why I wanted to be cool with them, is because they had their own porta potty. Well, the perimeter securities tent or area was right next to what they referred to as AIDS Lake. AIDS Lake was a part of the campground that was fucking disgusting. And some of the motherfuckers from AIDS Lake, they discovered the porta potty that was for perimeter securities. And I went to go take a piss in there one day, opened up the door. It was a fucking, the gnarliest scene I've ever seen in my entire life. And I'm like, oh shit, AIDS Lake found the porta potty.
Wait, I'm still a little confused. What is AIDS Lake? Explain to me why it warrants such a name as AIDS Lake. Is AIDS Lake a brand of people that are attending the festival?
I think that's why
it a specific portion of the campground? Well, I don't understand.
The campground is fucking, for Coachella and for Stagecoach, because I got some great stories. But the campgrounds are just out of control.
In a good way or in a bad way?
Both.
Okay.
It just depends on what kind of party you like. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, AIDS Lake, there was this little kind of pond, and there was camping around this pond, and that's why they called it AIDS Lake, is because like it just sounded great, you know? I don't know where
it's just an area of cest that's going on.
Yeah.
Near a lake. Okay.
Yeah. So, but there was some pretty interesting experiences there. So when we played the turn down tent, which was on the other side, it was in the campground. So it was on the other side of all the stages. Well, we played there. They gave us a great set where it was like 25 minutes after the last band went on. So it was like when everybody was filtering out of the festival, it was like, oh, cool, there's more music going on. So we got a chance to like capitalize on that audience, which was fantastic because that tent was packed full of people. But afterwards, it was getting super late. It was probably like 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. So we called for an artist transport so we could get the fuck out of there. And artist transport said, hey, you're next to perimeter securities. You might want to call them instead, and they can just pick you up because it'll be way faster. Because if you wait for us, we're on the far end of the polo field because that place is huge. It's going to take us forever. So we're like, that's fine. So they called us perimeter securities. Well, when perimeter securities came, we loaded up in the back of this. It was like this cool ATV, like rugged, maybe a Polaris or something. And they get a phone call that somebody was dead in the campground. So they were like, all of a sudden it was like the Call of Duty, So we're in the back of this fucking thing, holding on for dear life as these guys are ripping through with like flashlights, screaming at people to get the fuck out of the way. And then I'm like, okay, what the fuck? So they get out. We finally get to this place. We all jump out, and I'm like running with these guys. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm running to see a dead body. This is fucking terrible. And so we get there, and there's this guy laying face down. And his friends are like, we don't know what to fucking do, man. And so they turn him over, and this guy's just like laying there, and they revive him right away. And the guy was like, the fuck are you guys doing? Like, oh my God, man, this is fucking crazy. And then I talked to another guy who was like, I was walking with him, and it was probably like, this is another night. It was like 4:00 a.m. or something. And this guy's arm was like cranking, just going and going and going. He's like just moving his fist over and over. He's like, I want so many drugs right now, man. I want so many drugs. I'm like, oh shit, this is fucking wild. But I saw some shit there. I realized that I was getting old when I went to Coach when I got there, because I saw some shit there that was like one of those things where you're just like, if I was a kid, I'd be like, fuck yeah. But like, then I was in my early 30s, and dude, I saw this one girl who could have been a day over 18, and it was like probably like it's probably like before lunch, maybe like 12 o'clock, 12:30. And this girl is just like, she's fucking bright pink. And she's just announcing to this whole area how drunk she is. I'm so fucking drunk right now. And I'm looking at her. I'm like, this girl's on the verge of a heat stroke. And if some fucking weird creep hears that, they're going to tail her. So I just like weird stuff like that just kind of irked me.
It became unsettling to be around it basically at some point.
Yeah. Cause it's like, I'm not really a drinker. And at the time I was a big stoner at the time. So I was fairly like of sound mind. So just some of the stuff that you would see where you're just like, oh my God, like this person is putting themselves in a position to either get raped or get, robbed or something. It's like, I can't believe that.
They're just putting a mark on themselves for nefarious activities of any variety of fashions.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And
I mean, that's how I feel about going to shows now too. Like I feel like I'm too old to go to shows. I live here in Anaheim and I live around the corner from Chain Reaction.
Mm-hmm.
House of Blues is not too far. There's some cool shows that were going to be in the area. Not anymore. Obviously they're all canceled. And when I say cool, I mean, like I say that with, like it's newfound glory or something that I would have thought was cool when I was a kid.
Sure.
And I was thinking about going, but then I was thinking, man, I'm just going to see a bunch of people there that are just going to make me feel old. So do you still go to shows that you're not playing?
Yeah, I do sometimes. And the reason why I go is mainly because I have friends in bands, and it's mainly I go to, this is such an LA thing too. God. I mainly go just to show my face around there and just to let people know that I'm around. Because like, I moved to Los Angeles so I could pursue creative endeavors. And you kind of got to put yourself in a position to be around these people. That's how you get gigs. So
for sure.
I pretty much just go because I know that there's people that are, creatives that just do a band for a side project and that are involved in animation or comedy or whatever. So, or acting or whatever. So,
hey, I did want to ask you about that. I saw that on your YouTube channel that you went to, what is it? DesignCon?
DesignerCon. Yeah.
Right. DesignerCon. Yes. Do you do design work too?
I don't.
Or is that something that, okay.
No, I don't. I'm a fan of I love creative people and I love the creative process. And I love little toys and things like that. So I would always go for that. And just cause there's always cool ass people around,
Well, I mean, I've never really been to like a design con or anything that's like that specifically. But I had seen somebody else that I followed online at one point go to some type of designer con where it was exactly like that. There were a lot of vinyls being painted on, or just paintings, or just different type of graphic work, and whether they be prints or stickers or just whatever that they were putting their designs on. And I find that type of stuff super, super interesting. But I've never gotten into it. So I wasn't sure if you were doing that. So you were going more as just a fan of the art form, not so much being a designer yourself.
Yeah, no. And a lot of it was, it's always good for inspiration. At the time I was going to DesignerCon, or the times that I went to DesignerCon kind of revolved around when me and my friends were doing our cartoon. So a lot of it was you also see things that people are doing and going, oh fuck, we could put this into our project.
What happened to the Goobers?
So it sucks because
wait.
Goobers was his cartoon that he was working on. That he was doing. Great fucking cartoon, by the way.
Thanks, man. I love that thing. So a brief history of the Goobers. So it was these characters that me and my buddies created, especially George, my best friend George, who was the voice of OJ, and Woody, who did the music, and he was the voice of Gert. The three of us had these characters and would sit around when we were kids and write raps of these characters, kind of as a parody of Bay Area rap.
Yeah.
Because
that shined through.
Yeah. And because, you guys know, Bay Area rap is very specific to the Bay. It's got its own flair and unique weirdness to it. It's very weird.
Yeah.
So there was characters that we always thought were like, how the fuck did this rapper get big? And so we thought they were fucking kind of a joke. So we would make parodies of these rappers. So when I was in rock groups, and we also did our own like kind of backpacker hip hop group, we would always put in these rap songs of these characters that we created, but we would pretend that they were actual people. But what we found is that we put these albums out of our own music, and the stuff that everybody always gravitated towards was basically the prototype of the Goobers. So my friend Tommy was working on a TV show or a cartoon called Uncle Grandpa, which was
Uncle Grandpa. Yeah, that was big.
Yeah, so our friend Tommy was doing the music for Uncle Grandpa. And at the time, he had the opportunity to pitch ideas to Cartoon Network, and he got his show they put some money behind it. He had this little idea called the Broccoli Tacos, which was based upon a group of his friends, kind of like the Goobers, but way crazier. And so he was looking for more ideas. And so like I said, this is just my narrative. Other people will tell me that I'm wrong and that I'm lying or what I'm saying is not right. It's just how I remember things. So I'm not saying this is like the true history, but I remember saying like, oh, the only way this would ever work is if it was a cartoon. So regardless of how it went down, whether that was me or Woody or whoever, we started putting this together, and we got in touch with a character designer, this guy, Steve Chun, who did the character design work for season 1 of Rick and Morty. So we got in touch with him. He did all the character designs for us, and we started doing a show based on these rappers that we created way back in the early 2000s. And we made the setting our old music studio from when we were in all these different bands, because we used to practice on this basically an old chicken farm in Petaluma, California. The old chicken farm was owned by, I'm not lying, the old chicken farm was owned by a hoarder named Gary. And Gary would hoard ridiculous shit like fire extinguishers, fire equipment, ambulances, God, you name it, Gary was hoarding it. So we were like, fuck it, let's just make it about all the crazy ass experiences that we had. So we would do all these little cartoons about the crazy ass experiences we would have at the farm. And I was also doing YouTube stuff at the time. And then I was able to meet other people that were in that whole community and kind of bring them in. And then we met this guy named Justin, who had this channel called Monster Films. And this is when things started to kind of fall apart. So Justin was doing he would do these videos where he would take a box and he would paint the box of a different character or whatever, his own creation or the Joker or anything. Well, I thought these videos were fucking dope. And Justin was a super nice guy, and I could get in touch with him. Well, I thought, hey, we should bring Justin in on this. And Justin Monster Films. Let's just call it Monster Films. So I said we should bring Monster Films in on this and do a collaboration where we put his box heads over our own heads and animate the mouths and the eyeballs and then do a video. And so we did. And then we thought, oh my God, this is a great design aesthetic for our show. So then we filmed a little kind of a pilot, just an idea of a show. We filmed that in the
like sample footage
exactly
of what you could show. To try to elicit some type of pilot.
Absolutely. So we did that, and Colin Goheen, who was the guy that was doing all the back end production, and like I said, man, if Colin heard this podcast, he's not going to hear it, but if he did, he would get so upset that I'm talking about this because there was a lot of tension. So Colin worked for this studio who was working on something similar, their own. It was different, but a similar kind of design aesthetic too, revolving around a brownie, a talking brownie. It was, I didn't like it, but anyway. So he was able to get it in front of people that, are in the business, which really helps. So it got in front of Vin DeBona Productions. Vin DeBona is the creator of America's Funniest Home Videos. Dude, I can't believe I don't think I've ever publicly really told the story. But oh God, fuck it. It doesn't matter. It's over and done with, and it's
right here,
yeah,
exclusive.
Exclusive to our very limited outreach, but exclusive.
It's an interesting story, regardless. But like I said,
you're the most you're the most person who's been in an industry like animation or I mean, you're talking about Cartoon Network shit right now. Like, this is big for us, so please feel free.
Well, so we got this. So we got it in front of some people that Vin DeBona from America's Funniest Home Videos, and they thought, oh my God, this is fucking great. We should put some money behind this fucking thing, sign these guys to a production deal. So they drafted us up a contract, and Colin wanted to sign it right away. And Woody was like, we're going to have our lawyers check it out. Well, unbeknownst to Vin DeBona and their production company, we had a bulldog of a lawyer. And this lawyer made all the necessary changes, and we finally worked out a deal. But one of the things is that in order to get this thing going, 2 of the 4 creators of the show, they couldn't be on as executive producers. And those 2 creators were me and George, because me and George were only involved in the story process and only involved in the voiceover process. But when you get a show on TV, normally you recast the voices and you recast and then you hire writers. So that kind of renders our shit void. So we got off the production deal. However, in order for me to have any kind of,
attachment to the project,
I had to move to Los Angeles. So I moved to Los Angeles, and then it was like, our pilot was finished. They shot the pilot. It was the biggest piece of shit that we'd ever did. It was extremely racist. It was not funny. We chose the wrong writer and showrunner because we had to pick a showrunner. We had the option of 2 people. We had this one guy named Brian Ash. Brian Ash was he was a producer on the show Black Dynamite, as well as the Boondocks.
Yeah.
And he was going to bring in his buddy, Eric Murphy, who's Eddie Murphy's oldest son. And the 2 of them were going to run the show. And Eric knows everybody in the fucking rap game, obviously, because, Eddie Murphy is his fucking dad. So it was between them. They wanted their money up front, which is fine. It's totally acceptable. They're going to write a fucking show for us. So they wanted their money up front. Well, this other producer, this guy, Josh, I don't want to say his last name because I'm going to talk shit about him. So there was this other guy named Josh, who there was a prior working relationship with Colin and with also Vin DeBona Productions. There was these weird inbred ties. Well, Josh was going to take his money on the back end. So, and there was also that connection, that inbred connection with the production company. So naturally they went with Josh. And the reasons that were told to me is because the industry pick, it's the industry pick. It was Josh, because Josh had the quote unquote bigger writing credits. When you look at Josh's writing credits, it was like a couple of story treatments for some new stuff here, but it was all sitcoms in the early 90s, like big sitcoms, but it was like write 3 episodes and then fired, write 3 episodes of this other show, fired. So we went with Josh because there was that connection. And he wrote just a pile of shit. And they spent, I can't tell you how much money they spent on this unaired pilot, but they spent fuckloads of money on this thing. I mean, they just dumped like so much money that you're like, why the fuck are they spending this money? Like, this is ridiculous. And they kept doing, they shot it, edited it. Oh, this is great. It's going to sell. And then it was like, oh, it didn't land right. Okay, well, we're going to re-edit it. Okay, here's the changes. and it would just be like more racist jokes. And it was like, fuck.
Well, adding more of what was already not working
Right.
was their solution.
Doubling down. And then it was like, oh, we're going to do it again. So they did 3 different edits, and then they were going to then do another edit of a basic. We're going to sell it as a show aesthetic. And I remember saying to one of my friends, I said, "What's the show aesthetic? Shitty internet show?" And they were like, "You have no idea. You have no idea what a whatever." So I moved down here for that, and it just fell apart. And then we wanted to continue doing it. After we went through this production company for 18 months. They were trying to sell this fucking thing. So we finally got out of the deal, and we wanted to continue, me, George, and Woody. And unfortunately, we couldn't come to an agreement with the 4th creator of the show to keep doing it, unfortunately. So we had to let it go. And it's sad because those characters that we created for that show were characters that we've had in our brains and been doing stuff with since we were 18 years old.
Yeah, so I mean, you were on the ground level for the development of the idea, and at that point, you're not able to go any further with the idea, and it's like letting go of like
a piece of ourselves,
a creation that's been with you for probably over a decade at that point. I could totally see that really fucking sucking, and I'd probably be salty about it for a really long time.
I mean, honestly, the story's really crazy because I didn't know any of this. All I knew is that when I was watching Goobers, I was a really big fan, and I really thought, wow, this is really well produced for a YouTube show. Why isn't this something bigger? And now I'm learning it almost was something bigger, and that's just crazy to me.
You know, when I look at what happened with Brian Ash,
it's like their classic Hollywood shit,
dude. Yeah, and the more I'm down here, the more I talk to people, dude. This is so common.
Yes.
When you look, if you look at what Brian Ash, if you just go on his IMDb and look at what he's produced and what shows of his have gotten picked up and put on air since this shit happened, it fucking blows my mind. And then when you look at what Josh has put out, nothing. And it's like, motherfucker. Fucking A. But that's not even the end of the fucking story. Because that right there, like, dude, there's other shit too. Like I was talking with people to be on the show that and one person in particular was like, yeah, dude, I'd love to be a part of it. That would be great. Let me know when you guys take the next step. I would love to do it. Like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the YouTuber Ed Bassmaster.
No.
Oh, fuck. No. I'm sure you guys have seen his shit.
Maybe.
But anyway, so he had a show on True TV for a while too, the Ed Bassmaster show. But yeah, it was fucking dope. And then so we decided, okay, Goobers is done. Fuck it, we have to move forward. Well, I have a friend of mine that has a show that's going to be airing on HBO Max. That's being produced by Cartoon Network. It should be out sometime this year. And this guy is a fucking genius, and I love this guy. His name's Mike Chilean. And Mike and I were talking. I had a whole list of ideas for different shows that we could kind of do something with. And without saying the name of the show, because we're still working on this thing, I mentioned a show idea. And he goes, boom, that's the one. So I said, okay, cool. And then he starts going all Mike Chilean. He's like, yeah, man, da-da-da. And so we started working on that, and we've done different iterations of this new show that we're working on. And we got a little test animation done, and we brought it to, I can say this is over with, but we brought it to a guy that we know named Mike Clattenburg. And Mike Clattenburg is the creator of the Canadian TV show Trailer Park Boys.
Okay.
So we brought it to Mike Clattenburg, and we said, yo, Mike, what the fuck would you guys do with it? What would you do with this? And he was like, man, I'd love to fucking work this thing out with you guys. And so we were working with Mike on developing this show. And we had a bunch of meetings with him. And Mike was also working on 6 different other TV pitches. And he called us up the other day and was like, yo, he's like, I got to fucking bow out, guys. He's like one of the shows is kind of taking to the next level. And he's like, I got to write the show Bibles and all this shit. He's like, there's just no way I'm going to be able to do this with you guys and do this other show. And like, you guys can use everything that we talked about. And so, yeah, man, we've been working on this other show, and Clattenburg has got his fingerprints all over what we've done so far. Unfortunately, we're not working with him anymore, but it's been a crazy ride, dude. It's fucking weird.
So you don't regret moving to Northern or Southern California then?
It was the best thing I ever did for myself.
Really?
Yeah. I was scared shitless to do it because I was leaving everything. I had a solid income going on. I had a beautiful, wonderful house. My family, all my friends, all my loved ones, for the most part, were all up there. And I came down here and freaked out. I gained 70 pounds. Everything fell apart. But it was the best thing I ever did for myself.
I remember you telling me when I told you that I moved over here because I was hitting you up like, hey,
Yeah.
I'd like to get my hair done by you.
Yeah.
You said a word of advice you gave me was, you're going to feel like, what the fuck did I do?
Mm-hmm.
But get past it, because you're going to realize that it's the best decision you've ever made. And I remember I was on the 5. No, I was on the 91. I was coming home, and I was having that moment. Like, I had a really bad day at work. It was just brutal. I'm in an hour of standstill traffic, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why am I here?
Yeah.
Why did I come to Southern California? Like, I miss home. I want to go back. And then I finally get home, and I'm like, what? Rossco was right. Like, that's literally how I felt. He told me about this.
Mm-hmm.
Talked about it with my girlfriend. And I don't regret coming over here at all. Like, besides the quarantine sucked.
Mm-hmm.
But before the quarantine, I was doing such cool shit that I've never done before. I've always wanted to do it. I'd either have to do it in like 2 days that I had over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be here, try to cram it all in, be exhausted when I got home. And then finally, I'm here, and it honestly is one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life.
Mm-hmm.
You don't miss Northern California at all. You're from, remind me, Santa Rosa?
I was living in Santa Rosa, yes.
Okay.
And I was working in Petaluma.
Okay. Anything you miss about that area?
Yeah, I do. I actually miss a lot of the Mexican food, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I feel like the Mexican food up north is better.
Really?
Well, it's different. I feel like Los Angeles is definitely, I mean, it's a burger town, but it is a taco town through and through.
For sure.
So
Like there's a lot of taco stands.
Yeah.
There is, I mean, relatively, there isn't a lot of places to sit down and eat, like plates is what I'm noticing. There is a shit ton of taco stands.
Oh yeah.
And like, you can get tacos, like the taco burrito, just like the classics that you would get at a truck, but in a restaurant.
Yeah.
But you're right. There isn't a lot of plate places.
No,
I have noticed that.
Yeah. It's definitely like a taco town. And I do miss, like, I mean, dude, in Santa Rosa, like, there was so many fucking good, there was like so many good, like, Mexican joints, like everywhere in Santa Rosa is just filled with like my favorite Mexican joints. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, man, there's some really killer Mexican joints out here. But I feel like it's more a taco place.
Garden Grove, there's a place, Sabroso, so good. That's a place where they have plates.
What's it called?
It's been featured on, what's that?
What's it called?
Sabroso. It was actually featured on another Santa Rosa native, Guy Fieri's Diners, Drive-Ins and Dives, and it's really super good.
Okay, cool. I just wrote it.
So if you want to try that, I mean, I know you don't come down this way, but when you do come down this way, Garden Grove, Sabroso, so good.
Okay,
you need to try that.
I'm gonna check it out. So, but I still go up there. I still work up there sometimes.
Okay.
So I still I was able to hold on to the majority of my haircutting clientele. So I still go up there and make money. And
that's cool.
I've been able to work, juggle a work schedule down here and still do hair down here and also do hair there, and also have enough room in my schedule to do creative projects as well. So thankfully, I've been able to kind of like get people to let me do what I need to do. Thankfully, I'm so grateful for the haircutting jobs that I had down here, where they're like, okay, it's not ideal, but we'll let you go up north for 10 days, fucking slam out a bunch of hair, and then come down here, do hair, and then do your fucking weird shit on the side. Like, yeah, cool, that's fine. So, and then this other place I've been working at, this place Bishop's, they're fucking cool as fuck too. And I've been there since almost the beginning, and I feel like I finally have, like, unfortunately it's all fucking closed down now, but I feel like I finally had a crew there that's like totally capable and totally cool and like fun, energetic, good hairstylists, creative people. So I finally got a good crew there too. And they let me do my thing too, which is great.
And where is this, by the way? Is it Eagle Rock or
I
where?
live in Eagle Rock.
Okay.
The Bishops is in Pasadena, so it's not that far away.
Okay.
It's like Northeast LA.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a cool place, and I really enjoy it. And I've gotten some really great clients from there too.
I see what you're saying though, by the fact that you don't come down here.
Yeah.
I don't go up there. I haven't been past downtown since I've been here.
Yeah, and I'm
it's kind of just like too far.
Yeah, right. And I'm assuming that downtown to you is the Staples Center.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's so funny because, like, when I think of like downtown, I'm thinking like Chinatown or fucking like down over by like as far as I go is like the Alamo Draft House. That's like as far as I go.
Okay.
You know, and like that's kind of like it's further than the Staples Center.
Yeah. No, I mean downtown. Yeah. So Staples Center, and then a lot of the tourist Hollywood shit.
Yeah.
When people come, when I first moved here, I was having people visit every weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And when people come to visit, they want to do the tourist shit. So you're going to the tourist places.
Those places.
But I mean, it's fun shit though. I still nerd out on it. I still really like it.
What's some of the tourist stuff that you like to do?
I mean, I like going to Hollywood. The other day, I literally took a drive because I wanted to see what Hollywood Boulevard looked like empty.
It's crazy.
But legitimately, all I wanted to do was just see it empty. I drove all around LA one day.
Uh-huh.
It took me 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, right? Like, it would take me an hour to get to LA normally.
Not anymore.
But it took me 2 hours to go. Like, I literally came from Anaheim,
Mm-hmm.
went to downtown, drove through South Central,
Mm-hmm.
made a whole loop around, went back to Hollywood,
Mm-hmm.
all within. And then I ended up on the one driving along the coast. Like, I was that bored, but it was fun.
Yeah, absolutely,
because it was empty,
dude.
And there's no better way to learn this town than right now than when it's empty. It's you're just driving, you're social distancing, you're physical distancing, you're just driving.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Hey, Mike, have you been down here at all?
Since Chuy went there, or no, I haven't.
No, he's declined he's declined invitations.
Dude, you were only there for like a month before the lockdown happened.
But I asked you to come though, man.
Yeah, but you know, I didn't.
Are you, Mike? Are you a fan of the Los Angeles area?
Yeah. What do you like, northern or southern better? As a Central California,
Los Angeles feels closer to home in a sense. Like it feels more grounded to me.
You're in Fresno, right?
I'm in Fresno.
Okay, yeah.
I'm in Central California.
Or as I like to call it.
We're actually from a small town called Sanger, which is 20 minutes southeast of Fresno.
Gotcha.
But he works in Fresno.
Yeah. Are you guys familiar with the legendary ska band from Fresno, Let's Go Bowling?
Let's Go Bowling.
Yeah. Everybody knows them.
Oh,
what kind of music did you grow up on, by the way? I've always wanted to know that.
I only knew them from, what was the label that they were on? Asian Man Records for a period, I think, too.
Towards the end, they might have been on Asian Man.
Oh, okay.
I did not know they were on Asian Man Records. That's crazy.
Oh, that's the only reason I think I first initially came across them was because I was like looking up all the band roster from Asian Man Records at one point.
Why? Because you bought a Less Than Jake record and they were...
No, I was really big into like the Lawrence Arms, and I think the Lawrence Arms was on another compilation album from like Fat Records, and then so from like Fat Records compilations, like I found bands, and then I found what labels they were associated with, and then like Alkaline Trio's on Asian Man Records, cool, and then just like going down the list of like who else has been involved with them at some point, and
that's fucking crazy. It's so fun.
It blows my mind how many bands, like Orange County and Fresno, are similar in size, and it blows my mind how many bands are from Orange County and how little bands are from Fresno. Like as a kid, you always wanted to look up to people from Fresno who are in bands. Mike and I played music however shitty it was, it doesn't matter.
Mhm.
But I always wanted to look up to bands that were from the area, and there wasn't a whole lot, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But I mean, from Orange County, like you got the Offspring. You have, I mean, you mentioned Justin Scarred from the Scarred.
There's weird ties.
Manic Hispanic, just a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
Wait, was the whole band, or at least some of the band members from Fresno?
Ben 9K is from Fresno.
No. I mean, no, I was talking about the Agrolites.
Oh, okay. Wow. Were they from Fresno? I did not know that.
I want to say, because I remember when we went to an Agrolite show, there was like a huge community of like people that knew the band members, and like I think they had gone to like
I thought they were from San Luis Obispo, so that made sense.
Oh, okay.
But that also, you got to think too, like the Agrolites was, Let's Go Bowling was still kind of playing around that time period, so they would have crossed paths, and there might have been like some people from the Agrolites probably somehow played in other bands later, like before that. There's always a lot of inbreeding going on there.
Yeah. Yeah, just a lot of connections made.
Agrolites were so good.
Oh, they were awesome. Let's Go Bowling though is still one of my favorite bands.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So you were like really into like ska or punk in general?
No,
or
I was never into punk. Well, kind of. I mean, I don't really consider the Offspring and Green Day are punk, but like they were pop bands. So I got my mom. Okay, so when I was a kid, my mom's good friend was a buyer for Tower Records. And like, because they're all Sacramento based, and Fuzzy was like old school Tower Records guy. So this guy Fuzzy would come over to my house, probably to like sell my mom weed or whatever the fuck. And Fuzzy would be like,
and you said his name was Fuzzy?
Yeah, Fuzzy, yeah. And
what a dope name for a dude that comes to sell weed.
Yeah,
like,
I might have made that up. Maybe my mom was, who knows? But Fuzzy was a family friend, and he would come over and be like, "Yo, man, like, what do you want? Like, what do you want?" And I would just rattle off like everything from NWA to Poison to Dire Straits. Guns N' Roses. I remember one day like listing off the craziest music, and he's just writing it all down, laughing and heads. And then he would come back to my house and just drop me off a stack of tapes. So when I was a kid, it was like I just had whatever I wanted. And then
from NWA to Talking Heads.
Yeah, and everything in between.
Okay.
And then I figured out a way. I got a bass guitar, and I remember when I got a bass guitar, I was really big into like rock music, like alternative rock, Live 105. So whatever was on there, but I always loved rap music, because it was the same time as like Dre and Snoop were coming up. So I love rap music, and I love like the funk and soul aspect of rap music. But my parents are both from Detroit, so I grew up on Motown. And then I got my bass guitar. Les Claypool lived in my fucking neighborhood from Primus. Not in the neighborhood, but like really close by. So like, having the, that kind of influence there. I had this place called the Phoenix Theater in Petaluma, which was like this crazy underground club, kids teen center that was packed every weekend. So when I was 15, I joined a ska band that was playing all over Northern California. And I got into that scene, and we had a manager that was putting us all over the place. He actually ended up going to prison because he was a convicted child molester. Crazy.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, but weirdly enough, he got us the best shows we ever had. Cause he knew everybody, cause he knew all these fucking weird kids, because he was a creep. Yeah, dude, it's crazy. So regardless, so I started off in a ska band, at 15. And then I remember around the same time, about 15 years old, I went back to Michigan, and I saw an advertisement for Insane Clown Posse's The Great Malenko album. Dude, this is fucking crazy, dude. This story is so weird. And I thought, whoa, what the fuck is this? So I bought it.
The title track of that song is just so good.
Oh yeah, man. Oh my god.
Great Malenko.
So I bought that shit, and I thought, oh my god, this is it. It's like this is it. I found what I love because it's
You
like,
found your calling
yeah, because it's just like
of the Juggalo.
it's just like dirty and bloody and raw
And from Detroit.
and from Detroit. So like I'm listening to this shit and my parents are laughing because they're like, oh my god, why the fuck are they talking about Verner and Springwell? That's like the worst hood on earth. And so they knew all the references. They would take me when I'd go back to Michigan. They would take me to all these fucking places, and they'd be like, check this out. And then they would take me to see Insane Clown Posse, wherever the fuck. And so, yeah, man, like I became like a hardcore Insane Clown Posse fan. And that's what got me into rap music. That's what made me think, you know what? I can be a rapper. And my friends were like, fuck yeah, we can be rappers too, just like Insane Clown Posse. And so this is before Eminem. And yeah, man, we got into Insane Clown Posse. And that's what kind of got us to be rappers. And then that got us into hip hop. So.
I feel like I have to ask now. What is your perception on how people feel about the Juggalo community, and that it's usually seen as like, you know, it's just a fucking like a low punching joke to just like start talking about Juggalos? Like what is your take on Juggalo community? And like, I mean, now that you're older, and you know that was when you were younger, when you were first listening to it. Do you still listen to Insane Clown Posse? Do you still like have the same like the same hype about it while you listen to it?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I think the Juggalo community is exactly like whatever people think about the Juggalo community, they're exactly right. They are exactly who they think they are. That's them, dude. In a fucking nutshell. They're kind of a community of people that definitely wears who they are on their sleeve, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, we're from Fresno, and so there is a noticeable Juggalo community here.
I mean, so bad that I used to have to. There was somebody. I worked at Hot Topic when I was a kid, and there was somebody always stationed near the ICP T-shirts because people would come in and steal them. So you'd have to make sure. So if a Juggalo came in, you'd have to make sure to like make eye contact. Oops. And then walk over to the T-shirt wall where the ICP stuff is, because it wasn't just ICP, it was ICP
Twisted.
This and Twisted, yeah. They had their whole little section on the wall.
Yeah.
Because more often than not, they wanted to steal that or an ICP chain wallet. They wanted to steal that too.
Oh yeah, that's fucking rad. That's so funny, dude. Oh my god. And people talk shit about Hot Topic. Fuck that, man. I loved Hot Topic. I loved working there, to be honest with you. Yeah, man. Fuck, like people are like, oh, it's fucking mall goth bullshit. It's like, no, dude. That Hot Topic has been able to like transform and change with the times. No matter if it's like whatever's popping off.
They're recession proof. You're right.
Yeah,
they really are.
It's like, okay, cool. Like Marilyn Manson's popping off. Cool. We'll be like Marilyn Manson. Okay, cool. Like As They Lie Dying is now popping off. Okay, we're just going to have that shit. Now it's like nerd culture. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, it's a nerd store now. Yeah, it's like it's very catered towards anime and stuff.
Sure, and they all
a lot more color in there than there used to be.
Absolutely, and they'll always have the band shirts and everything, but like they've been able to kind of change with whatever 13-year-old alternative, quote unquote, alternative, culture is
interests. Yeah.
So good on Hot Topic. But yeah, man, I remember ditching. This is funny. I remember ditching school with my homie to go pick up the new Insane Clown Posse record. I think it was the Amazing Jekyll Brothers, and I was so juiced. This is like right when Napster was like starting to become a thing, and I was so pumped up. I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna fucking ditch school, smoke a bunch of cigarettes and weed, get this fucking album. So we ditched school, got the album, and I remember like popping into my Discman and sitting there on the curb listening to this fucking record. And my buddy was doing the same thing. And we're looking at each other and we're like, this is the biggest piece of shit I've ever heard in my life. And that was when I decided that like Insane Clown Posse had taken a turn. Basically that like the worst songs on The Great Malenko, that's what their new album was going for throughout the entirety. So it was a phase. It was a very important phase in my life. And I'm super thankful that I was able to experience some of those shows, man. They were fucking awesome. And yeah, like,
Well, I imagine those shows would be pretty wild. I
oh,
mean,
dude, I saw Insane Clown Posse in Detroit at Cobo Hall when I was 17 years old, and it was pure magic. Oh, that reminds me. You guys were talking about mindless self-indulgence.
oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So they fucking played that show. And I saw Insane Clown Posse out in Detroit. And
Okay, yeah, I could totally see them on the bill.
oh yeah, and the singer whipped out his dick on stage and got arrested for indecent exposure. And when he got pulled off the stage, I was like, I'm gonna go outside and smoke a cigarette. And there was all these like undercover cop cars, or just cop cars in general, all these red cop cars. And I remember seeing him getting thrown in the back of a cop car and driven to jail. And then then I met the band the next morning in the elevator when they were going to bail him out. Yeah. It was fucking funny.
That's cool,
Yeah,
man.
good times.
That's crazy. Yeah. So what's your music taste nowadays? Like, what are you listening to right now? You went from ICP. Well, you went from ska to ICP.
Yeah.
And in NWA.
Yeah.
What else do you say? Depeche Mode or
yeah, I love Depeche Mode.
What do you listen to now?
Right now is mostly like sweet, like just really cutesy, sweet indie pop.
Okay.
One
Classic LA.
I guess. I mean, I've been listening for a while now. Like, there's this group called RAC. It used to stand for Random Artist Collective, or Remix Artist Collective. I'm not sure which one, but I love RAC. God, who else do I love? Paperwhite, Penguin Prison. This group called Joan. Oh my God, I fucking love Joan. I love Walk the Moon, as corny as that might sound. Who else do I love? Embers. There's this group called KLLO. I don't know if it's a solo artist or a group. God, who else? Panama, Rah Rah Riot, Poolside. Fucking Poolside is great. Let's see. I'll listen to some. Do you know who this guy Ricky Reed is? You ever heard of Ricky Reed?
Never.
He's more of a songwriter. He was a solo artist for a bit, but I used to play shows. His band and my band would play shows together back in the day. And now he wrote a lot of the stuff on Lizzo's last record and stuff.
Okay.
So it's a trip to see him. I like that chick Claro, who's like that bedroom pop.
Yeah.
You know, there's this group called Shallow that I love. There's this group called Brett. I fucking love Brett. God damn. Griffin. Who else? Fickle Friends. Tori Moi. 1975. I like them too. This guy named Yuno. Yuno. Dude, I'm still this group called Sure. I still kind of am a fanboy for the Killers. As funny as it sounds.
No, man, I used to for some reason hate them when they first came out, but like as recent as like 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I was like, oh, they're actually a really solid band.
They're great.
Like, I don't know why I was being such a fucking hater on shit for a long time, but yeah, they're a decent band.
Yeah, and they were one of the biggest bands out there at the time, so it's easy to like punch up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, the Killers, like even their last single that they came out with, it just fucking just grabs me, man. I love the Killers, and I have a client who's friends with those guys, and
cool.
Fucking every once in a while I'll see photos and he's like, "Hey, the Killers are out here tonight." I'm like, "You fucking motherfucker!" But this guy knows everybody. That's one cool thing about Los Angeles is that my clientele has changed, and the people that I do their hair are like in the shit. You know what I'm saying? So you get showrunners and like Imagineers and stand-up comedians and actors. And
is that how you started going to the Comedy Store?
Yeah, I do want to get on the Comedy Store. Because I wasn't aware that you were hanging out at the Comedy Store until today. And
yeah, I go all the time.
Chuy and I are big fans of stand-up and stuff.
So who are some of your favorite comedians?
Oh man, I don't know, man. I mean, I've got a lot of comedians. Chuy, you want to start on comedians that you like? I mean, I mean, everywhere from like early early 70s comedians to like now. Like,
I mean, some of mine are. I mean, as much as I don't want, I hate that he's involved in sexual allegations. Louis C.K. I'm a huge Louis C.K. guy.
I get it, man.
As corny as this guy is, I just really always gravitate him. Jim Gaffigan.
Sure,
I
why
mean, I
not?
really just like him. Yeah,
He's
I just
great.
really like Jim Gaffigan.
Absolutely.
What's the name of the Australian fellow? Really, really in your face, kind of edgy, out there. Jim Jeffries.
Sure.
Jim Jeffries.
Really like Jim Jeffries.
Mm-hmm.
But Mike, you want to go?
No, man. I mean,
that's
of course,
doing stand up is something that we've
of...
always actually wanted to do ourselves.
Right.
Just haven't had the balls to do it. Is that something you aspire to do, or you just really like watching it?
That's kind of why I was wanting to get into this. Was wanting to know, like, were you? I mean, like, are you trying to get into stand up?
No.
No.
I feel like sometimes if I have a crowd of people where I'm on and I can be quick in a moment, I can be funny, and I can be a quote unquote funny guy. But I think there's a big difference of being somebody that's funny in a conversation, as opposed to having a routine, knowing how to work a crowd,
having a rhythm.
Yeah. Understanding the anatomy of a joke and to tell a joke, and also kind of tying everything together at the end of a set. Like there's an art.
Having the callback joke.
Absolutely. And there's an art form to it. And I feel like in Los Angeles, well, before the quarantine, there's so many people that are stand-up comics that do it very well, that are trying to do open mics and that are out there trying to do this as their art. And I think it would be really shitty of myself if I were to have a couple of fucking stingers to go up there and take away stage time that could be used for somebody that's really trying to make this a career. So I think that would be
for sure.
That'd be a shitty thing to do. I don't feel that I would like. I as a kid I wanted to be a stand-up. I loved stand-up comedy, but I just I would rather let the people that are really trying to do that do their thing. Because there's a lot of really, really funny people out there that nobody's ever heard of, that are struggling. So why would I do that? I'm not going to.
Well, I noticed that you were going to the Comedy Store. Specifically, you were there every week for the Kill Tony podcast, right?
Yeah, I would go to Kill Tony all the time.
I haven't really. What is Kill Tony? I haven't really listened to it, but I noticed that.
I'll blow your mind.
I noticed that you were there every week, and it was a live. I liked the idea that it's a live podcast. That's like something that I would love to do. A live podcast would be great, just to be in front of a bunch of people.
Oh yeah,
and doing a podcast.
Yeah.
So I actually wanted to make my way down to the Comedy Store to do that pre-quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
Something I want to do after.
We'll go.
I listened to their recent one, and I'm sure it's not the same rhythm. They're doing it remotely.
Oh right,
but.
Yeah,
I'd love to see a live podcast. That'd be great.
Yeah, what I love about what Kill Tony is for the people that are listening, and if you are an active podcast listener, you should listen to Kill Tony, especially the episodes before the quarantine. It's amazing. But what they do is they pull names out of a bucket, and they have stand-up comedians, whether you're an amateur or you can be a heavy hitter. They pull your name out of the bucket and they have you go up and do 1 minute of stand-up comedy. After that, the panel of people and the band, because they have a live band, they roast you, or they interview you. Sometimes they really fucking rip people apart. But it's some of the best shit out there, I think. And
oh man, I feel
that
like
sounds
that'd be
great.
traumatizing.
Yeah,
as a
for
performer,
sure.
I feel like how you were talking about how like certain comments on YouTube, stick with you. I mean, having the audible like version of those comments, I feel like would be like just soul tearing.
Well, and the people that the main guy, Tony Hinchcliffe, he is the dude who writes all of not all of them, but he's one of the writers for all the Comedy Central roasts. So he is like one of the biggest roasters out there. So he can, when he smells blood, he just goes for it. And everybody else on that panel is right there with him. So they're all heavy hitters. And the special guests they have are just freaking awesome. I've seen everybody there from like Too Short to Goddamn, like you name it, dude. Bobby Lee, um, Dane Cook, dude. It just goes. The list goes on and on. It gets to the point where you see and meet so many people at the Comedy Store that you start forgetting what celebrity that you've seen there or what they've done. One time I was there, and Ari Shaffir walks across the stage butt naked on his cell phone. This is before the whole Kobe shit.
Yeah, I feel like his joke wasn't that bad. Like I know, I mean, I know people are very sensitive about, Kobe, and I understand that, like you grow up watching this sports figure and idolize him.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, it was a tweet. He's a comedian, and I don't think he should have been like fucking ripped to shreds over that tweet.
I mean, Chuy, you can attest to this. People in Los Angeles live and breathe the Lakers, and
oh yeah, honestly, they lived and breathed it so much that I was getting into it.
Sure.
Before pre-quarantine, when there's a Laker game on, it's on everywhere. I go to the Indian restaurant to pick up my food. It's on. People are crowded around the TV, and it's a really cool thing to see because I'm gonna get into this when we start talking about hockey. It's cool to be in a sports town that lives and breathes their sports.
Absolutely.
And the Lakers are an institution here. Like, it's wild. I mean, I made my way over to Staples Center for the Kobe Memorial after he passed. My mom came over and she was like wanting to see it, so we drove over to Staples, and it was moving, man. Like, I almost started crying. Like, there was graffiti all over the floor, like big old long paragraphs of people writing shit to Kobe Bryant, somebody who's dead, somebody who's never going to read that.
Yeah.
And there's giant paragraphs of what they did for what Kobe did for them, and what they wish they could have told him. It was crazy. Yeah. So yeah, Lakers are an institution here, 100%.
So Mike, that's why, and I think a lot of it has to do with too, like if he were just to write it out on Twitter, like, yeah, fuck this rapist, glad he's gone. I think that would have gone over better than him shooting a video of his face saying this shit, I think it like that really drove it home, and it's like you're taking a raw nerve and just literally just vampire biting it, So I think that's really why. And if you look into the allegations, like of the sexual allegations with Kobe Bryant, it's a dicey. I mean, who's to say what happened because nobody was there, but like you can kind of like see why he got a pass on that, in the public eye. But regardless, but yeah, man, like people in Los Angeles they are hardcore fucking Lakers all the way above it.
Yeah, I think a poll came out recently of the number one, the ranked sports teams ranked in Los Angeles. Obviously, Lakers were number one by a landslide.
Yeah,
number two, Dodgers. Yeah,
dude. Especially in my
crazy
because I'm northeast LA. Like if I go up to the top of my hill in my neighborhood, I can see Dodger Stadium, or where Dodger Stadium is, and like so my neighborhood is like fucking East LA, fucking old school Doyers, Vato. It's ingrained over here. So yeah, people love the Dodgers over in my neighborhood, big time.
100%. That's like Dodgers hats everywhere in Los Angeles, and just like Lakers jerseys everywhere. Which I mean,
I'm not a baseball fan.
Yeah, I mean, I used to be a baseball fan, and then I started watching hockey more.
Yeah,
and it's just way too fast,
right,
to go back to baseball.
Yeah, for sure, man.
I cannot do baseball anymore. I've tried, man. I've really tried. I was really into the Giants my whole life. I played baseball into my teens, and then I just can't do it anymore. Hockey's where it's at. Hockey and soccer are the two. I worked in soccer. I love hockey, and it's really cool actually to be in a hockey town. I've never actually lived in this. Like I was telling you, I've never lived in a sports town.
Yeah.
So to actually live in a hockey town, I live in Anaheim. Although the Ducks are fierce rivals with the Sharks. I actually grew up a Ducks fan. I don't know if I've ever told anybody. I'm sure I have.
I wouldn't tell anybody.
Yeah. Well, I actually grew up
Oh, the Mighty Ducks, man. I get it.
Mighty Ducks, yeah, that's what got me into hockey. 100%. I'm not even gonna lie. Like I saw the Mighty Ducks, I got into
That's
hockey.
just Disney marketing very well.
Yeah,
Hey.
I came to the park. I went to the Mighty Ducks store. They had an entire store when I was a kid.
That's so cool.
Picked out a jersey. My parents got me the jersey.
Wow.
I asked for a stick for Christmas that year. I got a stick and some rollerblades, and I liked hockey ever since.
Yeah.
Once I got when I got older, I started watching the Sharks because they were my TV market.
And those were prime Shark years. All those years were like the Sharks were on the cusp of winning a cup, which
they're always on the cusp of winning a cup.
Not so much anymore, but
not this year.
Oh,
yeah,
fuck no. But I had a conversation with fucking what's his name, Dean Lombardi.
Robitaille?
No,
Lombardi.
I wish, man. I actually met Robitaille, but I met Dean Lombardi one time, who used to be the GM of the Sharks. And
did you used to be a Sharks fan, or you never were?
Yes, I was.
Being from Northern California.
I was. So what?
Because number one, you are a Detroit Red Wings fan because your family's from Detroit, right? You're a Red Wings fan.
I was born and raised a Red Wings fan, and I still actually have memories of being really young. Like I think I was like 2 years old, going to the old LA Forum when the Kings played there before Gretzky, and seeing the Red Wings and Kings play when I was a kid. But that was one of my first memories, is going to see the Red Wings play in the 80s. And I remember when Gretzky came to LA, and I remember understanding how significant that was.
That changed hockey in California forever.
It did, and
it's the only reason Gretzky coming to LA is the only reason the Sharks exist.
I think that in a lot of respects, I think that the only reason why the league was able to sustain where it's at is because of Wayne Gretzky, and that move changed the NHL. And I don't think that if Gretzky came to the Kings and in '94 when the Rangers won the Cup in '94. I don't think hockey would have been this big in the States. I really don't. And then the Mighty Ducks. So it was like this perfect storm where I was born and raised a Red Wings fan. And then Gretzky comes to LA. Then the Sharks come into town. And then the Mighty Ducks comes out. So it was like this fucking machine that just jump-started the obsession. And I remember going to see my first Red Wings and Sharks game when I was a kid. And my dad was not doing well financially at the time, but he spent all his fucking money on getting us tickets like 5 rows back, right behind the Red Wings bench. And so I was like decked out in Wings gear. And I remember during warmups, Darren McCarty for the Red Wings, who's like a Red Wings fan favorite, he skates over, not wearing a helmet, skates over to the bench. And I remember him giving me the head nod, like the acknowledgement in the crowd. And that was it. I was hooked.
That's the commercial rap right there, dude.
And then
that's
and maybe 15 minutes in the first period, or maybe it was the end of the first period. It had to be the end of the first period. One of the Red Wings trainers comes up to me and he goes, "Yo, man, here you go," and hands me one of the sticks of Steve Chason, who was like an all-star defenseman of the team. And I remember that was it, dude. I was like, I'm a fucking Red Wings fan. And it was right as the Red Wings were just coming up, like they were. They ended up winning a Stanley Cup in 3 years after that, 4 years maybe, but that was it. Like it was like they were right there. And so, yeah, man, it was a 10-3 victory for the Red Wings against the fucking Sharks. And
that's crazy.
Yeah, man, that was it. And then the Mighty Ducks came out and I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to get some fucking skates. My dad was like, sure, you want to skate? You want to be a hockey player? No problem. I'll start coaching. So my dad started coaching. I started playing. And then I got into a band and realized that, being a 280-pound, 16-year-old kid was not very conducive to being on skates. But it was okay in a band. And in a band, I could smoke weed, I could drink, I could smoke cigarettes. So I said,
chill out to some ska tunes.
Yeah, I could dance.
Play a nice little bass line.
Yeah, man. And it was dancing, So that's what kind of brought me from. But I always was super hockey obsessed. And actually, I got a client down here because of hockey and because of my fandom for hockey. And it turns out he's a big stand-up comedian. And he came into my shop one day and he was decked out in Pittsburgh Penguins gear. And I looked at him and I was like, I don't even know if I should let you in here. And he goes, excuse me? And I was like, I'm a huge Detroit Red Wings fan. He's like, oh. And I was like, and you look really familiar. And he's like, yeah, I get that all the time. And he told me his name. And I was like, I know exactly who you are. And come on over, dude. Have a seat. I'm gonna get you in right now. And I've been doing his hair ever since. He's cool as fuck, man. He's one of my favorite clients that I have down here. I actually spent New Year's with him. His name's
That's cool.
Yeah, his name's Steve Byrne, Byrne. But he's a great dude, and I got him because of our mutual love for hockey.
Yeah.
So
what made you be was it Gretzky that got you into the Kings? Because you have two teams. You have the Red Wings and you have the Kings.
Yeah, and the Sharks too. But I don't have think about it. I don't have any Sharks gear at all. But I used to be a hardcore Sharks fan too. Actually, I got a couple jerseys somewhere. But what happened?
That's how we started talking online. Is I added you on Twitter, and then we would chirp back and forth about
Sharks,
Kings and Sharks,
Sure.
Kings and Sharks. That was back when the Canes were winning Stanley Cups and the Sharks were knocking on the door in the second round and getting knocked out.
Yeah, oh yeah. So what happened was I was going to like 10 to 12 Sharks games a year. I just had the money to do it, and the Sharks tickets were expensive. So I was going to Sharks games all the time. I can make my own schedule, so it was like, fuck it, I'm going to drive down to San Jose, which is like a 2-hour drive from where I was living. So I'd go down to San Jose, catch a game, and I was going to 12 games a year, and every year it was like, dude, the Sharks are going to fucking win a cup. It's right fucking there. And then they fired Dean Lombardi and Ron Wilson. And then when they fired those two, the GM and the coach, or not Ron Wilson, Ron Wilson, right? They're all
It's one of the Wilson brothers. I'm not sure if it's Ron.
I think it's Ron Wilson. I'm pretty sure.
Is it Ron?
Or no, Ron Sutter. Who the fuck was the coach?
Daryl Sutter. Daryl Sutter.
Yeah, that's right. Daryl Sutter.
Who would later win a Stanley Cup with
the Kings.
The Kings.
And Dean Lombardi. So what happened is like they both, after a year's time, they both went to the Kings. And I thought, holy shit, the Kings, who were just cellar dwellers and were accumulating all these number one picks like Dustin Brown and Anze Kopitar and John McQuick, all these like big, young players. I thought, Drew Doughty, this is it. They're going to win a fucking cup. And they've got the general manager and the Sharks, the Sharks' old general manager and their old coach. I said, this team is going to be built to beat the Sharks, and they're going to win a fucking cup. And so I show up to Sharks games decked out in Kings gear because I'm like, fuck it, dude. Sharks ain't going to do shit, and I'm pissed. I'm fucking pissed at the Sharks because they made this stupid rash decision to fire those two. So that's what got me into the Kings, was because the Sharks decided to go in a different direction. And
what's crazy about that is that the teams are always picking up what I'm going to say, the trash, because now they have Todd McCullough.
But you could also make the argument that the Sharks were doing that too when they got Rob Blake.
Yeah.
So that goes both ways. But the Sharks the Kings in every respect is a rebuilding team, and so picking up McClellan's a good coach.
Yeah, he's all right.
Oh,
he's a what he is. He's a Red Wings.
Yeah, he was.
He's a Red Wings alum,
and that's how he got the job, was because he come off that Red Wings Stanley Cup win and got the job with the Sharks in 2008. So, and more power to him, And
that's how the Sharks are in the predicament that they're in right now, is that they're trying to play fucking sandbag hockey and trying to just play old school, and that wasn't working anymore when you had speedy teams.
Yeah,
speedy teams like the Kings.
Right. Well, the Kings,
little guys like Alec Martinez.
Yeah, but
skating past them.
Right, but the Kings are a big team, though. Those fucking players are big, and
Kyle Clifford back in the day.
Oh yeah, and they in a lot of respects they were. Dean Lombardi was able to build that team to beat I'm sorry for the people that are into hockey. It's probably boring, but I don't give a fuck. I love hockey.
Yeah, I love hockey too. I've always wanted to talk hockey on this podcast.
Yeah, that Kings team was built to beat the Sharks, and they were able to do it with young players that were on those entry-level contracts. So they had young legs, entry-level contracts. They were able to do it and get past the hump.
Was Toffoli back on the squad back then?
He not quite.
Was he still in the rain?
Yeah, he might have been, but it was early on.
Yeah.
But regardless, it was like the Browns and Kopitar and Drew Doughty and John McQuick. That was like really the like star power of that team. But that's why they were able to do it. And the Sharks they just never were able to get over that hump. And I always felt that if they were to stuck with Dean Lombardi, they were right fucking there, and they would have won a cup within a year or two. 1 year or 2 years, they would have won a cup. And I actually talked to Dean Lombardi about that, and he said the same thing. He said if they were given another year, they would have won the Stanley Cup the next year.
I feel like as soon as, and it sucks to say this, but I really feel like as soon as Joe Thornton is done, which I feel like he's done this year.
Right.
This year was unfortunate that it ended the way that it did. I mean, they still haven't canceled the season, but it's done. As much as they don't want to admit it, that season's not going to finish. As soon as Joe Thornton exits that team has lost everything that I grew up with.
Oh, yeah.
Like he's the last, and that's why they keep him. I feel like they know he's the shoestring keeping all the fans here. Because as soon as he's done, I mean, I like Brett Burns, but I feel like he's going to get traded.
Oh,
and then after that, who's that? Logan Couture? And Pavelski's already gone. Like the love for me will leave with Joe Thornton. I mean, I'll always love that team. I'll always really like that team.
Right. Yeah,
but Joe Thornton is like the grandpa of hockey that's like keeping that team alive.
Who do you cheer for on that team after that? It's like, do you cheer for Evander Kane? He's not out there. Do you cheer for Erik Karlsson and that albatross of a contract? Like, I'm sorry, like that's the handcuffs that's going to fuck this team. Just like the Kings this year and the last few years have been handcuffed by those big contracts on these players that aren't playing the game that is happening right now. And that's just kind of the cycle. You know, you look at the Blackhawks, you look the Penguins. I don't know how they've been able to transform and do their thing, but they've been able to do it, which is amazing to me. And look at
I mean, that's something that the Sharks have been trying to do this whole time is let's not rebuild. Let's rebuild on the fly. Right. It's almost happening. It's almost here. Let's bring back Marleau. Let's just bring back an old ass guy who's
But they had to because there were so many injuries earlier on this year because they originally said, no, fuck yourself, dude. You're gone. And then they had so many injuries. They were like, well, Marlowe's waiting in the wings. All these guys like Marleau. They're all friends. Fuck it. Let's bring him in. So they brought him in. And then they gave him the opportunity to win another Stanley Cup in Pittsburgh, which was really sweet of him to do that. You know, and it's unfortunate.
I almost wish Joe was traded away. I mean, not anymore.
I do.
But I wish that he was traded away to a cup contending team. I want to see that guy raise the cup. I really want to see him raise the cup. For him to have all of these accolades, to be one of the greatest players to ever play this game, undeniably. He missed the top 100, NHL top 100 a couple years ago. Yeah. Absolute joke. For him to not win the Stanley Cup is going to be like this huge monkey on his back for his whole life. So I really wish that I kind of wish he went back to Boston. I kind of wish that he went full circle, went back to Boston, wins the cup with Boston, gets to raise the cup, put it up for that city that drafted him in, 92? I don't know, a long time ago.
I don't think
that he was drafted
that early. I think it was like
97,
98, somewhere around there.
Yeah, a long time ago still.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. Yeah, it's unfortunate, and I think that Boston would be the opportunity for him to win a Stanley Cup. That would be basically it. But
I fucking miss hockey.
I do too, man. It's really sad.
Man, I wish that show was on right now.
I mean, I watch like hockey YouTubers all the time, and I keep up on what everything's going on. And man, like I still follow the Red Wings and watch as many games as I possibly can, even though it's been painful, especially this year was horrendous. But I fully believe that the Red Wings are going to win a Stanley Cup within the next 7 years.
I wish I could say the same for the Sharks. I don't believe that.
Man, I would love to see them win a Stanley Cup with every fiber of my fucking body. And there was moments where I thought, if they're close, I got to go down to the fucking tank, and I got to be at least outside so I can fucking see it, because I've cheered and been. You know what's funny is, like, I remember as a kid, like with my cousin is being from Michigan, he would rag on the Red Wings so hard. And he'd be like, fuck the Red Wings, man. They're dog shit, blah, 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 blah. And I would always be like, fuck you, dude. Give them a break, man. They're like crushing it. You know, they're going to win a Stanley Cup. Like, fucking give them a break. And I feel I'm the same way about the Sharks. It's like this team that, like, I've always been upset that they had never been able to take it to the next level, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's how I feel about the Ducks. Like, well, the reason I want to bring them up is because I am in this hockey town. I drive by the Honda Center all the time.
Mhm.
And at first when I got here, I was like, oh, I'm going to hate seeing all this Dutch shit.
Mhm.
I've actually kind of embraced it, man. I kind of really like I like what they've been doing for the community during COVID-19. That's what kind of like sparked me to them. Like the fact that their owner, I work in sports, and the fact that their owner just publicly came out and said, hey, we're not going to fire anybody. Like
Mhm.
we're going to keep them on the payroll. Nobody's getting fired, not even the security.
Mhm.
The security's not going to do shit this year.
No.
And they're going to continue to pay them. And it's that kind of stuff, being somebody who works in sports,
Mhm.
seeing people do stuff for their community really means stuff to me.
Absolutely.
So that the whole local aspect of the Ducks is really like plucked on my heartstrings.
Mhm.
And I can't wait to go to a Ducks game, to be honest with you. All rivalries aside and all of that shit, it's going to be great to see them take the ice again.
Mhm.
The Honda Center is like 10 minutes away from me. I pass by their practice facility almost every day on Lincoln.
Yeah, man.
It's cool.
You have to like. That's something that like, especially if you stay down in Anaheim for a while, for an extended period of time. Let's just say 5-10 years. You know, like that's going to be something like you're gonna be a Ducks fan.
Yeah.
You know,
it's cool. It's cool to be in an area where the sports are happening because I've always picked teams that were close.
Right.
When I say close, I mean 4 hours.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I've spent thousands of dollars on tickets and travel and hotel rooms to go see teams. Like one of those years that I thought the Sharks were going to make it, I spent money for me and my sister to go to every round of those playoffs.
That's fucking awesome. I've never gone to a playoff game.
Oh man, thousands of dollars on playoff tickets, man. Because I'm like, oh, this is the year. They're going to do it.
Yep.
They're almost there.
Yep.
And I actually didn't pay for. I couldn't get any tickets to see them play the Penguins, which I'm glad I didn't because that would have been
heartbreaking.
A heartbreak and a half. But those tickets were sold out. Thousands of dollars, but every round before that, I was going, and it was phenomenal, man.
Yep.
Playoff hockey, there's nothing like it.
No.
Like that is insane, especially a place like the Tank,
Absolutely.
where
Place gets
the Tank. Oh man, it's unlike any other venue. Like I've been in a lot of venues, I've heard a lot of noise, I've heard a lot of crowds. There's nothing like that venue. Like the way that it's built, like acoustically, it's all made out of metal. Like it just sounds like a fucking jet engine. It's crazy.
Yeah, I played a show there one time.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and it was funny because when you're saying it sounded like dog shit.
Yeah, I'd imagine music would not sound good in there.
Oh my god,
it's a tin building.
Oh yeah, I felt so bad for the sound guy because he had to like. We were playing like it was actually kind of crazy. We were playing above one of the entrances because there was like we got into this like local band thing where they were picking a couple, like standout local bands to play on the outside of one of the big Live 105 shows. And like it was like above one of the entrances and it was bouncing off of the fucking concrete. It was awful.
Oh yeah. I would imagine music in there sounds terrible. The noise is deafening, but it's just like one big barn is what it feels like.
Oh my God,
it's man. A giant fucking barn.
And when I would go when the Sharks and the Red Wings were playing, when I would go to games and I'd be decked out in Wings gear and that shit was when the Sharks would be winning, dude, that building was out of control because it was like the Sharks were taking down the fucking Giants. The Sharks of the league. The standard of excellence in hockey for so long was the Red Wings, and so the Sharks won the Red Wings. It was like, fuck yeah, and like, oh, way to let's give it to the Red Wings fans, fucking right here. Wow, that was wild, man. I loved those games, even when the Red Wings would lose.
Yeah, no, the place is incredible, and I would go for my other team because I have so many teams. To be honest with you, I like the Blackhawks.
Why not?
My dad's from Chicago. He got me some Blackhawks shit when I was a kid.
Hell yeah!
And I would wear Blackhawks shirts. So I really like the Blackhawks. So I like their runs that they went on. So I would go to Blackhawk Sharks games, and that shit was wild because it's the same thing. It's like take down Taves, take down Kane. Like when they were winning, it was like I think that they haven't won in that building for X amount of years, if I'm not mistaken. But it's wild. It's fun.
Yo, absolutely, yeah. I never wanted to see. I do own a Blackhawks jersey. I've never really been a Blackhawks fan per se, just because the rival with the older rivalry
for sure,
the Red Wings. Now
original 6 teams.
He's gone away, but there's a lot of teams I cheer for. There's only 2 teams in the league that I will never wear any of their gear. I will never support them.
The Knights. Come on.
I mean, I have a Knights hat.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, George McPhee, the general manager of that team. God, this conversation is so nerdy, dude. Oh my God.
I know, Mike. I'm sorry, man.
No, not at all, man. I mean, I think that any conversation where people are passionate about the topic is, can be entertaining to anybody that's not even familiar with the subject per se.
I agree. I listen to a lot of sports talk radio, and I don't know anything that these fucking people are talking about at all, but I'll listen.
Yeah.
It's funny. Like, they're talking about college football. I'm like, I don't know any of this shit. And I'm like fully engaged.
Are you a football guy at all? I'm not a football guy. Not American football. I don't like it.
No, I think that the Raiders logo is probably the best logo in all of sports, or one of them.
I'll say that. Yeah. I
don't give a fuck about, I don't like football at all.
Yeah, I don't either, to be honest with you.
I got into basketball. I was into basketball as a kid. I kind of got back into it. I was a Pistons fan. So I always hated Jordan, because he kind of dethroned the Pistons. And then I met, Bill Laimbeer, who was one of the bad boys in that era, like late 80s, early 90s Detroit basketball. And I met him, and he was a total asshole to me on the airport. And I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
And
wow.
So I stopped watching basketball for a long time because Bill Laimbeer was so mean to me.
You're a Golden State Warriors fan now?
Yeah, now I'm a Warriors fan. I mean, it's hard not to be. Those guys are that team was so exciting to watch. I mean, I know Durant's not playing for him anymore, but Durant and Curry are just, that's some of the best basketball I've ever seen in my entire life.
It was good. It was fun to watch, for sure. I'm not a big basketball guy, but that was fun to watch.
Yeah, very exciting.
100%.
And it was nice because I got a lot of friends that are hardcore Warrior fans, and it's always cool to see a team, like a fan base that suffered for so long, finally get theirs. For sure. As a kid, it was in the 97-98 season when the Red Wings won the Stanley Cup, or it was 96-97 season. It had been a long time since the Red Wings won a Stanley Cup, so I was fully aware of how significant that was. Because I feel like sports is almost like a cult. Any team. Oh yeah, you have to suffer. If you haven't suffered, then you're not a real fan. Oh yeah, that's just how the fandom goes. Yeah, and I was fully basically peak fandom, and suffered through years of almost making it with the Red Wings. And then in '97 when they won, it was like it was just incredible. And I'll never, every Stanley Cup victory for the Red Wings, all four that I've seen, has been like this moment where like I've tried to digest. Way to rub it in. I'm sorry, man. Sorry. It's such a, especially with something as intense as hockey. Because dude, hockey, man, it's like, it's blood, it's broken bones, it's sweat. It's the hardest. I'm no bias here. I mean, I work in soccer. Yeah. And that's my number one love is soccer. But the hardest trophy to win in all sports has got to be the Stanley Cup. 100%. You can't. Nobody's going to argue that. No. It's a 7-game series. Every series you're dealing with injuries. When you look at the injury report that comes out at the end of the season, Joe Thornton played with a torn ACL and MCL. Yep. And continued to play. I think he even had a broken thumb at the time. Like, just play through it. Fuck it. Go. Absolutely. Like, I'm trying to win a cup. Yep. Then that's something that you don't see in every other sport. No. Every other sport, somebody has a sprained thumb, you're out. But hockey, it's like you'll find out somebody played the whole thing with a broken ankle. Yeah. Like, how? How did you do it? Yeah. They taped it up. They literally taped it up. That's what they did. Dude, you got to win 16 games to win the Stanley Cup. That's how many games you got to win. I mean, goddamn, like that shit is insane. So, it's crazy. Yeah, I feel like hockey is so underrated in this country. 100%. It's an underrated sport. Yeah. I think it's like is it fourth? Or I think so. It's fourth. Yeah, probably fourth. Maybe even, at this point, maybe even UFC is bigger. Hard to say. Yeah. I feel like UFC is always going to be a fringe thing because it's so. The victories are always so tragic, You see somebody like break a bone, or when you see somebody get, basically have brain damage, it's like that it's tragic, So I think that it's always going to be kind of like more on the outer length, fringe sports, but there's a lot of betting that goes on. So it's always going to be pumped into the media because there is a lot of money that's won and lost with prize fighting.
And I mean that the owner of the commissioner, Dana White, is just wild. I mean, a couple weeks ago he was talking about buying a private island so he can continue having fights.
Yeah,
and it's just like, what the fuck? And their community just eats that shit up.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'd watch it. I mean, right now I'd watch anything, to be honest with you. Like, there's nothing to watch. I'm watching reruns of old games and shit like that.
I've been watching a lot of hockey YouTubers, and I actually on season 5 of Breaking Bad, like watching that all over again.
Oh, okay. A lot of I don't know how many episodes you listen to of the podcast, but we like to do a lot of Netflix suggestions. You got any for anybody right now during quarantine?
Netflix suggestions. Let's see. Fuck, I just watched. Actually, I would recommend. That's kind of, it's not on Netflix, but it's on Apple Plus. Which they're doing a free trial of it, so I would recommend just ripping through it. Is Mythic Quest. It's the new. It's done by the creators of Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
But it's about a video game company. It's fucking awesome. It kind of reminds me a lot of like where Silicon Valley kind of left off. It's like kind of Silicon Valley-esque.
Yeah.
But it's about a video game company, kind of like Blizzard Games,
Yeah.
So I would recommend Mythic Quest. What else have I been watching? I've been burning through a lot of stuff. I've been watching a lot of Blu-rays lately.
I saw that you were watching a lot of Tarantino films.
Yeah, I'm a huge Tarantino fan. And I came across a shitload of Blu-ray, like Tarantino Blu-rays at this place that I go to. And so I was like, oh shit, I can upgrade my collection and I can fill in the gaps. So I was able to like just grab basically everything. And so I've been watching, rewatched all of Tarantino's flicks. What else have I watched? A lot of horror movies. I watched all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies recently again. Those are always fun.
So in this time you're watching a lot of movies. Are you doing any? You're writing music too, right?
Yeah, I actually started putting out a lot of more stuff on. I started working with my buddy Bob, who up north. My friend Bob and I, we've been good friends, like pretty much best friends, since we were 14. And he's a bass player as well. He's kind of like more of like a funky bass player, like a lot of slap bass and shit. But he doesn't really put out a lot of stuff. So I told him, I was like, dude, let's just do a project together. So we ended up doing like 6 songs together. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to fucking put out shit on Spotify and Apple Music and all that, all the streaming platforms. So I've just been putting out stuff here and there. I wish my mixing was better, but I've just been putting out my own stuff lately. And then I've been doing a bunch of stuff with Woody too. And Woody's my music writing partner and my creative partner. So I do stuff with him and I do my own stuff. All of it's, for the majority of it's instrumental stuff. So
yeah, I mean, I've noticed that there's a lot of instrumental stuff. So with Woody, does he still go under Woody's Produce, or what is he working as now? Is just Woody?
He kind of transferred it over to Super Tight Woody.
Okay,
because he was, and also Woody's Produce as well.
I told Mike earlier that you worked with this guy named Woody, and he was like, the rapper from Antioch.
You know,
are you familiar?
Weirdly enough, I was at Rasputin Records in Berkeley one time with Woody, my buddy Woody, and I was like, "Yo, Woody!" And this fucking tall, fucking redheaded dude dressed in all red comes up. He's like, "Yo, what's up?" I'm like, "Oh, that's strange." I was like, "Actually, my buddy's named Woody too." Fucking strange. So I actually met Woody before he committed suicide, unfortunately. Yeah, like it was fucking weird. I'm like, oh shit, Woody. Yeah.
What's crazy about this whole conversation that we've been having here is that you have done everything that Mike and I have wished that we could do. Like Mike loves like Cartoon Network and all that stuff. Oh, yeah. I love music and YouTube, and it's just like, oh yeah, I met that person. Oh yeah, I've done this. It's like wild to me. Oh, yeah, it's really.
Yeah, you guys are talking
You
about
got-
Limp Bizkit? That's fucking funny. Yeah. I remember.
Have you met Limp Bizkit? You have a Limp Bizkit story?
Yeah, I met the drummer once.
Hey man, I have a Sam Rivers autograph on a notepad.
He's a nice guy, dude. He was very nice. We met him at I met him at a
Guitar Center.
No, I met him at
That's where I met him at Guitar Center
Did you?
during that
Okay.
sham of a tour where they were trying to quote unquote find a
Oh.
new guitarist to replace Wes Borland.
and they were ripping off everybody's material.
Yeah.
Dude, that shit's crazy. And they were stealing everybody's. They were taking all these players' riffs. And they legally owned them after they did the quote unquote tryout.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
Oh yeah, man. People tried to sue, but they signed away all their rights when they went in there and did that shit. So they cherry
That's crazy.
riffs and just took them and used them as templates for songs. Which, I mean, think about it. Like, it's a way to do it.
Great workshop.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, can you imagine? But I met him once. Actually, I met him in Anaheim at the NAMM.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and he was super nice. He was a very nice guy.
Is NAMM always here?
It's always there. Yeah,
Oh, that's cool. I've always wanted to go to that.
you should go. You do meet a lot of people, and you see a lot of people. And I remember one time there was these there's obviously artist booths and stuff because all the the people, the bigwigs come through and they, hey, what's up? And I remember looking in this window and seeing Dimebag from Pantera.
Yeah.
And I remember looking and I was like, oh, it's Dimebag. And he looked so nice and friendly. And he was so obviously there was a room full of people kissing his ass that were all bigwigs at Jackson Guitars or whatever. And I remember seeing him and just having this moment like, oh, that's so cool. He seems like such a sweet dude.
Dean, I think. Dean Guitars.
Dean, at this point in time, because it was early, it was I want to say it was 2001. I think it was Jackson at the time.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was Jackson. But he went Dean later. But yeah, man, I've met all kinds of people down here. It's always crazy to see
cool.
who you run into. One of my other clients down here is the art director for South Park.
Oh, wow.
And his name's Adrian. And I've been doing his hair for I think probably a year now. And dude, that's another guy. He's cool as fuck. And he's just a normal ass fucking dude. And that's one thing I love about Southern California is you end up just meeting all kinds of fucking randoms. And you meet them and they become kind of friends or business partners or people that they just kind of become a part of your squad, not squad, but they're a part of the circle, you know?
Yeah.
And that's one of the,
that
I love the Comedy Store for that reason.
That is cool about Southern California. It's you almost become desensitized to it. I remember, I haven't been here that long, but I was at work and Kevin Hart was at the facility to film something.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, Kevin Hart's here. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Fresno me would have been like, where? I want to go see it. But it's
yeah, of course. He's one of the biggest.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, he's
just there.
Yeah, for sure. Doing his thing.
Yeah.
Like a normal
neat.
person.
I do really like Southern California as opposed to Central California. There's one thing that ties both Northern and Central together. And it's something that I can tell that you really like. I don't know if you even liked it. I think you just like the art because you're a big signage guy.
Oh, yeah.
Foster's Freeze.
Oh, Foster's, man. Absolutely.
You like the food?
No.
I loved the food as a kid. I really, really did. Mike, do you like the food?
There's not a lot of options for me.
Mike and I actually don't eat meat, but when I was a kid,
they make a mean grilled cheese.
They make a lot of good fucking ice cream. Mike, we can have the ice cream. You're not vegan.
I'm just kidding.
So,
I guess the Twisters are fine.
They're bomb. Twisters are fucking bomb.
Yeah, Twisters are good.
Yeah,
Oreo Twisters, man. Fuck, I miss those. Oreos Twisters with some crinkle fries. Those crinkle fries are fucking bomb.
I haven't had ice cream in a year and a half. I haven't had any sweets in a year and a half, and I haven't had deep fried food in 6 months.
Nice. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? Is this a health thing or is it a health thing? You're not supposed to.
I have a really, I have a really bad addictive personality. And so whenever when I moved to Los Angeles, I freaked out And I was like, I'm not doing drugs. I'm not going to smoke weed. I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to do anything. I've been so.
I think one of your biggest YouTube videos is you quit smoking weed, right?
Yeah, that's the biggest view count on there. And honestly, like when I go back and if you look at any of the fucking videos I've ever put out, that's the most real video I've ever done. Is that video? Is like where I'm just being honest.
You're just on the street talking, right?
Yeah.
That's if I remember it correctly.
I would love to do another video where I talk about like YouTube and why I stopped doing YouTube. But honestly, like I don't have the motivation to do it anymore. It was a really bad time for me. It was not good at all. But Foster's, man, I love Foster Freeze. I love but you know what? Honestly, I think Dairy Queen's way better. We don't have Dairy Queen.
I don't have a lot of Dairy. There's not any in Fresno, and I haven't had any over here. Is there any Dairy Queen in Fresno, Mike? There was for a second, right?
I feel like there was.
Manchester Mall. I feel like there was one.
Yeah,
or I think I'm getting confused with Orange Julius, man.
I don't know. Yeah, they had the Orange Julius Dairy Queen combos.
Okay, yeah, so that's what it was.
Yeah, I think in Modesto there was a Dairy Queen right off the 99.
Okay.
There used to be one there. The only reason why I know that is because when I was playing a show in Modesto as a kid, I made the fucking manager take me to fucking Dairy Queen. I was like, holy shit, it's standalone Dairy Queen. So, do
you have any Central California stories? Like, did you go to Fresno a lot as playing bands?
Not so much Fresno. I was friends with one of my old band members was in a band. I want to say maybe it was Fremont. No, it was Fresno. Minus Vince.
I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, this is like back in the day. But I never really played Fresno. I played Modesto and Merced.
Oh, nice. That's where I lived, Merced.
Yeah, and I played
Where did you play in Merced?
That cool theater in Merced.
Oh yeah,
really nice theater, and I don't want to talk shit about Merced, but it didn't seem like there was very much going on there. I got it crazy.
They got a University of California there, and everything changed. Now they got all kinds of money and all kinds of cool shit.
That's cool because that theater was amazing.
Yeah, no, they redid it. I think they probably redid it after you went there, and it's beautiful in there.
Well, like even when I went in there, it was beautiful. So it might have just got redone because I remember walking
maybe,
and this place was sparkling. So I played Merced, that theater, and then there was this person that was like, "Yo, if you get my daughter and her friend free tickets to the show, we'll get you guys free hotel rooms in Merced." And we were like, well, that's weird because the tickets for the show were cheaper than the hotel rooms. Yeah. So we're like, okay, like, sure. And I thought, well, maybe they just want to hang out they want their like daughter and her friend to hang out with the band, which is not a good idea. But regardless, we're not going to tell anybody that. We want the free hotel room so we can get fucked up and crazy. So we go to the Best Western in Merced, and we show up to one of the hotel rooms, and I either me or my friend opens up the door, and there's the mother and her boyfriend, and they're like 5 or 6 year old son, and the mom is doing a line of crank off the fucking table. And
that sounds like Merced.
Yeah, dude. And I'm like, oh my fucking God. Like, this is so bad. And she's like got, like the Sharpied on eyebrows, and she's all methed out. And there's this little fucking feral kid and some tweaker ass boyfriend. And she's like, yeah, this is one of the rooms, guys. Sorry, dude. I just took a shower, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And so they're like, but, for the other rooms, we just got to have you guys sign off on it. Right. And I'm like, I'm not signing shit. So
no, fuck no.
So my buddy Dan was like, I'll do it because I hung out with a bunch of real winners. So Dan goes in there and he comes out smiling. And I was like, did you sign for the room? He's all, yep, my name is Richard Douglas. And I'm like, oh my God. And so then that gave him the nickname Dick Douglas. But so one thing I thought was funny is inside the bedrooms, there was closed caption, the CCTV for the parking lot. So you could watch the parking lot.
What?
That sounds about right, man, because that shit's sketchy. You can get your car stolen.
Straight up. So they had this CCTV for the parking lot. And the whole time, I fucking had the bathroom window open because I thought I'm going to have to – I probably was like 280 pounds at the time. I thought I'm going to have to squeeze my fat ass through this fucking back window when the cops show up to bust us for fucking credit card fraud for these fucking hotel rooms and hanging out with tweakers while their fucking 5-year-old son is in the room while they're doing meth. Like, this is so bad. So, yeah, man. And then the next morning, everybody's all like hungover or still drunk from the night before. And we go to some Denny's. And my buddy Dan, Dick Douglas, he's like mouthing off about some shit. And there's this older couple that's just staring at us like the guy looked like he was about ready to pop. He was so angry. And as he's walking out after he paid his bill, he screams at us. He goes, "Creeps!" And I'm like, oh, I was so embarrassed. But yeah, man, that's my Merced story.
It sounds like every other Merced story.
What a shit.
That's how Merced stories start. No, I mean, I have a special place in my heart for that town because it's like, I don't know. Mike's been there and hung out with me. It's kind of methy, but at the same time, they have some of the best pizza in California. Shout out Little Oven.
There you go.
Do you eat a lot of pizza? You eat pizza over here? Or you're off the pizza too?
And I actually had pizza the other day, but I've had a gluten allergy for years.
Okay.
So I developed a gluten allergy years ago. And so as far as like good pizza goes, I can't have any of that fucking shit, man. I'm fucked. I have to have, I call it prison pizza because
the cauliflower crust.
Yeah.
Or not even, no, they have gluten-free crust, right?
Yeah. Like all the gluten-free crust, it's like shit, man. Like I'm not going to front, man, like gluten-free stuff. People that like decide to go on gluten-free diets for whatever fucking reason. Come on, man. Like if you have an allergy, I get it. But to like voluntarily go on a gluten-free diet, get the fuck out of here, man. Like, kidding me? You're going to like decide like, oh yeah, I'm just not going to eat that because, oh, well, no, fuck you. So, but I've been on a gluten-free diet for probably, I don't know, 5-6 years.
Okay.
Or longer.
And I was going to ask you where the best pizza in LA was because I can't really find any great pizza.
Best pizza in LA. Shit, man.
I had Elio's the other day, and the guy who makes the pizza in the back of his truck.
No, I never had
that. Was cool.
I'm sure it's bomb.
Yeah.
You know what? There's one Italian place that I went to that was fantastic. It's expensive, but it's good. It's called Rayo's. RAO apostrophe S. But if you get a chance to go to Rayo's, I highly recommend.
Where's it at?
It's in Hollywood.
Okay.
It's like a mobster hangout in New York, and they opened one up out here. And you can actually get in for a reservation out here. In New York, I guess you got to kill somebody to get a reservation. But they're if you want like really good Italian food, and you want to spend some money, Rayo's. Still
nice. I'll check that out.
Yeah, they're bomb. Where else have I gone? Went to Musso and Frank's one time, or Musso and Frank. That was awesome. Got a nice little special experience there. So one of my clients, his brother's one of the managers there. So that was cool. That was good. I'm glad I got a chance to go there before the lockdown.
What's the first thing you want to do when the lockdown's over? Other than work?
I want to go to the Comedy Store.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll see you there. I want to go too.
Yeah, I'm going to fucking put on my brand new goddamn Jordans that I bought right before the fucking shit went down. I'm going to strap those fucking things on. I'm going to wear a fresh hat. I'm going to put on a slick jacket. And I'm going to look like I'm a fucking – I am the white member of NWA. Straight out of fucking the 9-3.
You better watch out, dude. You're going to get fucking roasted.
No, I'm not going to get roasted at all. They're going to take one look at me and go, this guy looks like a stand-up. So he's okay. God, man, some of the fucking people I've met there has been insane. I think it was like probably a couple months ago, I fucking talked to Martin Lawrence. That was a trip.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, well,
what?
So Steve, my client, Steve Byrne, name drop all the way. Steve Byrne he is a fucking real one. That guy is something else. He is the nicest fucking dude. He has treated me so well. I mean, I love Steve Byrne. I can't say enough good things about this guy. He is fucking through and through the greatest. But what's great, one thing that's cool is that whenever I'll hit him up like, yo, Steve, I want to go to the store tonight. Can you get me some tickets? He'll be like, yeah, sure. Just let me know how many people are coming and I'll set you up. Well, if it's a slow night, what he'll do is he'll put me in a spot like where all the comics are, where all the comics sit. So the last time he put me in a seat, it was like I was sitting there and it was like Ali Wong, Joe Rogan, and maybe D'Elia was next to him. It was like this fucking who's who of comedians. And then I got to meet everybody. It was because everybody thought, because they stand there to go up on stage, because comedy store is small.
Yeah,
they're waiting.
I've never been. I mean, one of my biggest, one of me and Mike's biggest things that we want to get for this podcast is, no joke, just like not even a lame thing. Like, we really want to get Pauly Shore on this podcast, and his mom owns the store.
Yeah, Pauly be a tough one, and the reason why Pauly be a tough one is because he's super busy.
Well, I don't know if I necessarily want him on the podcast.
I would love to have him on the podcast, man.
I just want him to be aware of the podcast and how influential the idea of the Weasel was to us in starting the podcast or
Hilarious.
being interested in this type of thing. You know, I mean, he's kind of like just been a not a mascot. But
like a folklore,
yeah.
I know a chick that's dating him.
Really?
Well, she was dating him. I don't know if she's dating him anymore, but she was.
You see him around the store?
Pauly?
Yeah. Like all the time? Is he like all there all the time?
Not all the time, but I see him sometimes. I've never talked to him though. I was there one night with my mom and her boyfriend, and we got his mom, Mitzi. We got his mom's booth. And Pauly was standing right next to the booth. So he was like standing right next to me. And I don't normally get starstruck. And I definitely got starstruck all those years of growing up watching MTV. And then, Son-in-Law, Biodome, Encino Man, like all that shit started spinning around my head. And I'm like, fuck, dude, like the Wheeze was like, he definitely was a staple of my childhood. So yeah, man, it kind of tripped me out there for a second. But he seems like he's a nice enough guy. I mean,
I would hope so. I don't want to meet my idol and then he's just an asshole.
All those stand-up comics are pretty cool, man. They've all been, all the ones that I've got a chance to talk to and meet have all been more than pleasant people. There's certain ones that I don't talk to just because they project, don't fucking talk to me. Ari Shaffir was one of those people. He just kind of projected, like, don't talk to me. I'm not sure. He's probably, I mean, I don't know if he's a nice guy or not, but I think he's probably halfway decent in person. Chris D'Elia is another one that I don't really bother talking to. But there's a lot of them that are around that are very approachable and easy to talk to. Joe Rogan is one of those people that's very approachable and easy to talk to when he's at the Comedy Store.
Do you listen to his podcast? Do you like his podcast?
I do sometimes listen to it. I try not to because he's very articulate. He's very smart, and he questions his own thoughts and beliefs. Mm-hmm. And I find that when I start listening to Joe Rogan too much, I start agreeing with everything he says.
Yeah,
and I don't like that because it reminds me too much of growing up with conservative talk radio. Yeah, and I hate conservative talk radio because I grew up with it. But I found myself at a certain point in time agreeing with everything, or not everything, but starting to agree. And that's when I decided I had to stop. I told my dad.
Well, it feels like you kind of put yourself in a bubble of some sort, and you just like focus on those ideas. Like, I mean that would be with anything. Like, like Joe Rogan. Just listening specifically to Joe Rogan, and like a lot of his viewers seem to only listen to Joe Rogan. Sure. And he does have like a cult following. Like, he's one of those people where I really do kind of like his podcast, but I hate the fan base so much. Right. Like, the fan base is one of the worst fan bases in my book.
Well, it's just like any fan community, man. Just going back to that Disney shit. It's like when you start getting into that really inbred, deep fan community, it gets toxic and weird.
Yeah. For sure.
It's not my So I try not to listen to Rogan all that much, even though I really do enjoy his podcast. He is a master of what he does. And yeah, man, I've had friends of mine that have just like walked up to him and been like, yo, Joe, let me get a photo. And he's more than happy to do it. So he's cool.
That's awesome.
All those Comedy Store guys, man, they are fucking rad. And there's been times where I've walked into the back hallway and looked over to my left and seen like D'Elia, Brian Callen, Joe Rogan, Tom Segura, fucking like what's his name? Oh God, the Andrew Dice Clay. Like they're all standing there shooting the shit, and you're like looking over and you're like, fuck, this is insane. This is the who's who of comedy, you know, or just walking down the street and you're literally walking right next to Dane Cook. Just walking with Dane Cook right down the street. And you're like, crazy. This guy's a legend in so many respects. You're just walking right down the street with him. Like it's nobody.
Is the Comedy Store the only comedy club that you've been going to down here?
I've gone to the Ice House in Pasadena a few times. The Ice House is great, but the Comedy Store is special. There's no other comedy club on earth that is quite like the Comedy Store. It is a dirt hole. It's the number one comedy club in the world. Everyone goes there. You see everybody. You see everybody's new material. Everybody hangs out there. You see it's unbelievable. It's the most special place. It reminds me, it's the same kind of punk rock vibe I get from like the playing like music when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It's that same feeling, you know, and you'll be there till 2, 3 in the morning sometimes. And you'll just be like, all of a sudden you're talking to Dave Chappelle and you're like, oh shit, I'm right here talking to Dave Chappelle. What a fucking thing.
No, yeah, that's like Mike and I were talking about that a couple episodes back where we were hanging out at a really small in Fresno CYC, and all of a sudden at the end of the show we're hanging out with Trash Talk in the back, just having birthday cake with them. Mm-hmm. It's just like those small clubs that, yeah, wild shit like that does happen. It's really cool.
Yeah,
and that is something I definitely want to experience.
Yeah. We'll go, man.
I definitely gotta go.
Yeah, we'll go to Kill Tony, and if you want, we can stay super late because if there's a way that you can do it to where you go to Kill Tony, and then you go upstairs to the belly room and go see this thing called the Ding Dong Show, which is fucking bizarre as shit. It's insane. Some of my friends love it, and some of my friends hate it. It's really interesting. I love it. And then after you go to the Ding Dong Show, you head downstairs to the original room, and then you watch all the late night comics where you see some fucking crazy shit, and then you never know who's going to show up. On a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I think things are going to change because I think a lot of these big comics are going to start going to the small clubs so they can survive. Because I think, you know, they're going to like leave the weekends for like some heavy hitters, but I think that a lot of these comics are going to take it upon themselves because they do care and they want these clubs to succeed. So they're going to start taking these weekday gigs, you know, at the Irvine Improv on a Tuesday, you know, just so that club owners can make a little money during the week.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I've seen a lot of things online of comedians having Instagram live shows where they're trying to raise money for not themselves, but for the clubs.
Yeah.
And for the comedians who do this as a living, but don't have, like, this is all they do.
Yeah.
And they haven't made it yet. So like literally those shows and whatever they'd make that night is all that they live on. Mm-hmm. It's really cool I have noticed that in the comedy community that they're really sticking together. I mean, I feel like that's what most niche communities are doing right now is that they're all banding together. It's really cool to see, to be honest with you.
Absolutely, man. And I think it's important. And I think that, you know, what kills creativity and what kills a whole vibe is competition. If you're competing against each other and you're competing for the same dates and you're competing for the same, you know, fan base and all this shit, competition stifles creativity. And I find if you work together and you're open to working with other people, large or small, is where you really like you find yourself in a better place. Because, you know, people are people and you never know where you're going to get inspiration from. And you just got to be open to it.
I feel like that's a great, great final word for us to end on today. Rossco, I really appreciate your time. Yeah. I really appreciate you being on this show. It's been
shout out for I think we've been saying this every single episode, but I think this is the longest episode we've done. And for me, it didn't really have any lulls. So, you know, thank you for, you know, being so knowledgeable in such a variety of topics today.
You know, honestly, like if you guys give me a platform, I'd love to come back on.
You're welcome anytime.
I'd love to, because you put a microphone in front of my fucking face, I just go. So it's like what I was doing with YouTube and all that. Before we leave,
Sure. Yeah.
I would like to say one thing, especially because we know each other through YouTube, and as bad of an experience that I had on YouTube, I will say that some of my best friends that I have in my entire life are from YouTube, and some people that I extremely value, and what they've done for me, and being able to accept me into their friend group, for however briefly or short of a time, that was very impactful on me. And I will give a big shout out to Justin Scard and Adam the Woo in particular. Those guys had no reason to ever put me in any fucking video or fuck with me in the slightest bit at all. But I think because we come from playing in bands and we come from a similar background as far as that goes, being in some kind of band and musicians and being fucking hams, and being tryhards. I think I really appreciate what those guys did for me, and I think that even, moving forward with some of the people that I've met recently that are of bigger quote unquote star power than they are, I think that them, putting me on their platform, was paramount to what
yeah, that's how I found you. I found you through them.
Yeah.
And it's just wild that it's just people that both of them were people that I was listening to when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And then you don't realize that these people were in the bands that you were listening to. I didn't realize Justin Scard was from the start. I didn't realize that Adam the Woo was from Duttermouth.
Yeah.
It's like these guys, they just they're like Hot Topic. They found a way to adapt.
Mm-hmm.
Like what's my next bag? It's not, I'm not playing punk rock anymore. Well, I'm going to do YouTube now, which is, it's really cool, to be honest with you.
Absolutely.
It's amazing.
So shout outs to those guys.
Yeah, that's cool. That I never thought either of them would get name dropped on this podcast. It's actually like, I'm a little starstruck right there, just like having somebody shout people out on this podcast that aren't people from Fresno,
Fres, yes.
We're not behind that. We're not behind that. That's a corporate thing. We'll get into. I don't even want to get into that corporate thing. But thank you, and goodbye.